So hey guys. Welcome back to my channel. What if Naruto, the legendary son of Underworld? Naruto x Hades movie. They did finally were able to defeat Akatsuki and, in doing so, had ended the war. Though it was not easy, the combined might of both the allied shinobi forces and a certain albino Jinchuriki defeated Obito, Jubi, Madara and Kaguya, though it was not easy at all. Many sacrificed their life in winning the war. These were the thoughts of Naruto Uzumaki, who was currently sitting on the stone face of his father, the fourth Hokage. He fought against his best friend, Sasuke Uchiha, who thought he should enslave the world and rule it with an iron fist. Naruto couldn't allow a cruel tyrant like him to fight against one another for 3 days, and the end Naruto came out victorious and managed to make the Uchiha a better path with his fists and words. Though he did agreed with many of Sasuke's views about the nature of humans. After the war, all the tailed beasts went their own way. He even released Kurama, his partner, the nine-tailed fox, even though Hagoromo told Kurama to be with him. Naruto declined politely, saying Kurama deserved his freedom. Now he was hailed as the hero of the Fourth Great Shinobi War. He was respected and admired by everyone in the elemental nation. The Konoha and its people, who used to treat him as monster and ignored his entire existence, now treat him as their savior. Naruto was completely disgusted with the leaf. Konoha was a hypocritical, just used him for their own gain and benefit. Even after saving them from pain or Kaguya, none of them apologized to him for what they did to him in the past. The Council of the Leaf were forcing him indirectly to marry Hinata Hyuga, a girl who claims to love him more, like having an obsession for him just because he saved her from bullies once. He wants to get away from this place and rebuild a new life, and looks like fate is with him. Suddenly, he felt a dark light emanating, but for some reason gave him a warmth feeling. It was coming from the Forest of Death. I have to investigate what's going on, muttered Naruto to himself. He reached the Forest of Death and was searching the area, thinking if someone or something was here. Whoever is here, come out now, Naruto said sternly. I am not in a good mood. You are just like your mother. Naruto turned around to see a man behind his back. Has an appearance of a tall and handsome man with a specially designed eye patch on his right eye and long, stylish silver hair that spikes up at various spots on his head. He's shown with a leaf-like pattern tattooed across his forehead, a spiked choker necklace lined, and a bead-like earring on his left ear with many smaller piercings. His attire is shown to be quite formal and extravagant, with a collar that spans all the way to his upper chest, and badges decorated on the left and right side of his coat. Finally, he wears long white jeans and a pair of shoes filled with square patterns. This person had an aura that commanded respect and obedience, but Naruto felt warmth and joy from him. Who are you? Naruto asked, his eyes wide in shock and anger as he stared at the man. The man questioned, looking at Naruto up and down, the smile still intact even when he met Naruto's gaze. You know me well, Naruto. I am Hades, king of the underworld, god of the dead, darkness, riches, fear, etc., and your father. Naruto stared at him for a long while, his face set into a deadpan. My father, all right, I'll believe that for a sec, but a god, right, and I am Naruto, son of Kami, god of albinos, swords, shinobi and ramen, Naruto said sarcastically, rolling his eyes. Hades grunted, his eyes twitching at his son's sarcasm. First let me explain everything. As I said, my real name is I am dead as Minato Namikaze, that was my mortal form. I came into your world 45 ago. I was bored from my world and had a lot family problems. I wanted a break for a while, so I decided to come to the Shinto dimension. Here, with help of my friend Shinigami, I was reincarnated in your world with 50% of my soul, while the rest were in my world, as there would be a total chaos in my world if I suddenly disappeared and there was no one capable enough to look after the underworld. After my death in the elemental nation as Minato, my soul and memories returned back to my world. I saw how you were mistreated. I wanted to help, but I had to. I couldn't because of the damned laws that forbids gods to not to interact with their children, and second, my paranoid little brother would have want to kill you. I know you were alone and hurted. No matter what, even if you hate me, I will always love you, my son. Naruto could tell that this man wasn't lying at all. He could feel from his depths that he was his. He instantly jumped to him and hugged him. Tears was coming out from both father and son as they hugged. It's okay, Dad, I don't blame you at all, said Naruto as they broke their hug. After calming down, he axed, so my father is a god, so it makes me a demigod. Hades nodded and said yes, but for some reason your divinity is more denser and stronger than an average demigod. I don't know whether it is due your Uzumaki heritage or Six Paths chakra. Sweet Naruto smirked. So tell me, Dad, why are you here apart from coming here to meet me? I know you are not telling me something, asked Naruto. Well, Hades explained his son about himself, his history, his siblings, Camp Half-Blood, and how his helm was stolen with his brother's Master Bolt and how he is blamed for the theft. So basically you need my help and that's why you came. Naruto deadpanned. That's just a mere reason, son. I had come to take to your true home and also wanting your help to find my helm. Fine. I was looking for an opportunity to leave this place and start a new life for as good opportunity. Also I am so going to have a lot fun and adventure there given how much you described me about your world, said Naruto with grin. But before all that I need a cool badass weapon, said Naruto. Done. As Hades summoned a gift which he always wanted to give his son. A katana. The suka handle has the traditional gold wrapping, with black tsuba guard. His blade features several intricate ornaments. Most notable is a relief of a dragon at the endpoint of the hilt and with a black guard with dragon motifs. Here, take Hera's. He gave the katana to his son. Awesome, exclaimed Naruto. Her name is as a legendary weapon that I asked the Elder Cyclops to create it just for was made by the most rarest metal in the universe known as supreme gods like me knows about such legendary metal, explained Hades with a proud grin. Yamato has enough potential to rival a god's divine weapon, especially a god of my have to train with Yamato to completely unlock both her and your true potential, then only you could wield her properly, understand? Dad, I will use it wisely, said Naruto as Hades nodded. Now listen, son, pack everything that you require and meet me here tonight, said Hades to his son, who nodded his head in understanding. Naruto was currently standing at the Hokage monument looking at the citizens of the saw how his so-called friends are going out together and spending time with each other. Though he is leaving and wouldn't miss anyone from the Leaf except Tsunade, Shizune, Shikamaru, Choji, Iruka, Konohamaru, Udon, Movie, Ramen Chief and Ayame. You always wanted me gone, right, and look now I am leaving, said Naruto. Demon monster, why don't you just disappear, trash? That kid just bring trouble. I am leaving this damn place. Be grateful, you fucking hypocritical bastards. Naruto took the headband to left it there and went to the forest of death. So, are you ready, son? Asked the king of the underworld. Naruto just grinned. Yes, Dad, let's go. As he raised his fist up in the air, Camp Half-Blood, here I come. As Hades teleported H and Sun to his dimension. Camp Half-Blood entrance. After teleporting from the elemental dimension, they arrived at the entrance of the camp. Naruto currently wasn't wearing the monstrosity his orange jumpsuit. He was wearing a white shirt with black jacket on it and a black jeans with white sneakers. Thanks his father for giving him good clothes to wear. Naruto saw a large rectangular rocky gate with Camp Half-Blood embedded on it at the top. So this the bad, not bad at all, commented Naruto. Once you go I will, said Hades. No, Dad, Naruto interrupted his father. I don't want you to just claim me like that. I am going to participate in the event you told me about and I am going to win it. Then claim me, he finished, surprising his father. Is that you really want? Asked Hades as he nodded. Yes, I will create a legend of myself that even the gods will acknowledge me in my legend. I see. They could feel a person coming towards them from the camp. Now it is my time to care of yourself, son, said Hades as he disappeared in a black fire. Fucking cool. Naruto saw a middle-aged man coming towards. Was middle-aged from the waist up, with thinning brown hair, bushy eyebrows, intense brown eyes, and to his surprise his lower half was that of a white Thada. Must be the famous trainer of heroes, Chiron. Who are you, young man? Asked Chiron. Hello, Chiron, Naruto said in English, and Chiron raised an eyebrow, guessing either he knew about the supernatural or he had a lot of questions for him. You know, he was interrupted by Naruto. Yes. I know everything about the gods, the supernatural world, and even gods from different. To answer your question, I am demigod, a son of a Greek god, and my name is Naruto Uzumaki. The eons-old centaur was surprised to learn about a young demigod to know such information, and more importantly, he has come here on his own without any satyrs. His appearance, he must be 18. Also, he said his divine parent is Greek god and there is only one Greek god he knows whose hair is silver white, which was making him nervous at the possibility. Naruto, I have lot of question for you. I hope you could answer them, asked Chiron. Shoot, how did you survive up till now? Many demigods don't even survive before reaching 14. Oh. My dear Centaur, that's the thing. I never lived in your dimension. I came from the Shinto dimension. Chiron was surprised again. So, you are a fully trained shinobi. Naruto nodded as Chiron was thinking about such new development. My father came to me and told me about himself and my heritage. He said he was here to take me to my real home, then he bring me here, said Naruto. Naruto, do you know who your father is? Asked the centaur, and to surprise he nodded. You do, so, who is he? Oh. Chiron, that's for me to know and you to find out. Naruto said with just facepalmed, muttering something in ancient Greek about imbecile, immature, brat. So shall we? Chiron sighed and nodded. Naruto Uzumaki, welcome to Camp Half-Blood. On their way, Chiron explained to Naruto about the entire functioning of the camp, its authorities and everything important that demigod at the camp should know. Many girls blushed when they saw Naruto, whether they would be from Aphrodite's, Athena's or Apollo's cabin. Many boys were envious of him for the attention he was gaining. Naruto raised an eyebrow when he was observing the place was pretty big. He looked around to see that the hill and looked ahead to see a bunch of cabins in a U-shaped arc. Naruto was glad his father granted him the ability to speak English properly, otherwise it would be troublesome, for also gave him several important scrolls of Fuinjutsu, Taijutsu, Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu which he had put in his storage seal. Hades also gave him information about his divine blood and the powers he had inherited from him. As the son of the god of the dead, he had multiple affinities: fire, earth, heat and surprisingly light, sun, and didn't know how he had the last three as his affinity. Chiron had to say Naruto was very interesting and IQ easily rivals a child if he didn't feel any trace olive aura from him. He was wondering about his surprise arrival at the camp. Naruto, how well versed are you in Greek mythology? Asked Chiron. If he didn't know, then he had to give Naruto a crash course for the time being. Well, Dad told me some important stuffs about the Greek majority are the descendants and relatives of the currently 12 major gods of the Greek pantheon, the Olympians, who rule over this dimension. All of Olympians are under Zeus. There are also many other minor gods who serve necessary purposes in the world. The 6 elder Greek gods and goddesses were Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon and Zeus. They were the sons and daughters of the 2 rulers of the Titans, Kronos and Rhea. Kronos was a bad father and ate 5 of his children because of his paranoia, and prophecy of idiot by devouring his children only made the prophecy true. Zeus wasn't eaten, he saved his siblings and they rebelled against the end Greek gods won. Zeus, being a man whore, had several children, some of the Olympians. Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Hermes, and Dionysus are the 12 Olympians. Hades is the king of the underworld. A being that is both respected and feared throughout the universe. Did I miss anything, Chiron? Chiron has an astonished face. Well, I am impressed, and Naruto smirked thanks. Before they could continue their conversation, they were interrupted by a beautiful 15-year-old girl with flowing blonde hair and steel-colored gray eyes. Sorry, Chiron, but the Hermes cabin has done it again. The girl spoke in an annoyed tone. They repainted the Ares cabin during the middle of the night neon pink. Naruto couldn't help himself from smirking from hearing the Hermes kids prank. He would have to meet these geniuses soon, he thought quietly to himself. What's even worse, the Ares cabin is declaring war on them, with Clarice demanding their blood. The clearly upset girl cried out while unknowingly tugging at her hair. Chiron could only chuckle before rubbing his chin in thought. Well, I can't say that the Hermes cabin doesn't deserve to be punished. I still cannot allow needless violence to occur in this camp regardless. Even so, I compromise that Clarice and her cabin not hurt any Hermes children until Friday. Of course. I am so stupid. Why didn't I think of that? How could I possibly be one of Athena's children if I can't even think of such a simple solution? The girl muttered into her hand that was currently being used to hide her anguish on her face. Now, don't be so hard on yourself, Annabeth. You are still by far the smartest person here in the camp, Chiron said, patting her hair while trying to reassure the troubled girl. Looking up from her recent meltdown, she could only smile gratefully at her father figure. As you are wise also. The girl nodded. Gaze when went towards Naruto. She blushed and had a dreamy look, while Naruto had a look amusement. Cough, cough, Chiron coughed to get her attention. Naruto, I would like you to meet Annabeth Chase. She is currently the smartest girl of the camp. Hello. Name's Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto as he gave her his for shake. Hi, she as she shook her hands with him. So you are new here, asked the daughter of Athena. Yes, I have here an hour ago, replied Naruto. So, your mother is Athena? Asked Naruto and she nodded. Naruto, where are you from, Japan or States? Asked Annabeth with curiosity. Naruto smirked, neither. I am not even from this dimension. Excuse me, as she was confused as hell. Are you saying that you are not from this world? Naruto nodded while Chiron was watching interaction with amusement. I wonder how would she react to the existence of the divinities from different pantheon in the multiverse. Chiron. I am from a dimension which is governed by the Shinto elemental dimension, the world of shinobi, said Naruto with a smirk which widened when he saw Annabeth's open-mouthed face. What, but, that, how? This was too much for the daughter of Athena while Chiron was laughing at her reaction. Chiron clapped his hands to her attention. Now Annabeth, listen. Gods from different pantheons do exist and they rule their own dimension, explained Chiron. They rule the multiverse? Asked Annabeth. Yes and no, child. The gods have no authority or control on the multiverse. They rule and govern their own dimension. A universe is connected with multiple dimension in which divine beings exist and rules, while a different universe means a complete different reality. For example, the Shinto has their dimension No as elemental, Norse has Greek's rules here, etc. All the dimensions of this universe is connected with each other, said the trainer of heroes. Though many says that the presence is true creator and rule of the multiverse, said Chiron. The presence, asked confused Annabeth. The biblical god, said Naruto. Whoa! Exclaimed the daughter of Athena. Remember Annabeth, they are not this cosmos, in this multiverse, there are beings who have enough power to rival even the gods. Beings who could make the gods we know look like already know few of them. Primordials or celestials, right? Annabeth said while Chiron and Naruto nodded in confirmation. Annabeth, this might be too much for you, but don't worry, you will with time get acquainted with it, and also please continue to watch over Percy. Chiron said while the girl nodded dumbly and was deep thought about the things she learned today. See you later, Annabeth, said Naruto to her, who nodded back and left. Oh. Chiron, that was really funny, and the reaction she gave, said Naruto while laughing while Chiron shook his head with a smile. As they started to walk, Chiron called out to a girl he saw walking by, Clara C. Come here please. The girl turned her head and saw Chiron and one of the new guys everyone was talking about. She smirked and walked over. Naruto noticed that she was pretty tall, strong looking. She was not totally ugly, she looked gruff and had the look of a fighter. What? Came her response when she arrived. I would like for you to show Naruto here around the cabins for the moment, Chiron stated. Fine. Gotta welcome the newbie anyway, she said with an evil smirk. Naruto raised an eyebrow as that. He knew that smirk, he used it when he did a prank. He guessed that she was welcoming committee. Well, come on, she called out, already walking away. He followed her all the way to the middle of the arc of cabins. Okay. Listen closely, cause I am only going to say this once. There are 12 cabins in all. Each one represents the Greek good it was made for. Their kids are the one who live in there. Since you and the runt are new and have not been claimed yet, you two will go to cabin 11, the Hermes cabin. Naruto nodded. Hermes did shelter a lot of people, so it made sense. And the one you're in? He asked nonchalantly. The god of war, she proclaimed while pointing to a red cabin. Cool. Naruto replied. Right, now we have the other cabins. We got Demeter, Dionysus, Athena, Apollo, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Hera, Zeus, Artemis, and Poseidon, she said pointing to each. He looked at Zeus and Hera's and quirked an eyebrow. They got some pretty fancy cabins for nobody to use. He noticed an empty area indicating it was of his father. Now, it is not to officially welcome you, Clarice called out, making a lot of people look toward them and they grimaced. Clarice was breaking in another newbie. Many felt sorry for him. She quickly reacted out and tried to grab him by the collar. Key word here is tried. She along with everyone else gasped as she grabbed a log of wood, stumbled, fell to one knee. What the hell? She screamed in her head. Before she could get up, she felt cold metal against her neck. She glanced to the right to see Naruto was facing the other way she was and looked at her from his side and with a smirk on his face, similar to her evil one earlier. For someone born from war, you have very slow reflexes, Naruto said, releasing a small bit of killer intent while still smirking. They heard a lot of people asking others how he did that, and to Clarice of all people. Some noticed that he had his kunai pouch on and that he didn't have that before. Deciding to scare them, he withdrew his kunai from her neck, put it in his pouch, sealed it away, earning a few gasps of shock as it just disappeared. He shocked them even more as he stepped back and offered a hand to help Clarice up. While that was happening, Clarice was in deep shock. The hell, I have never been bested like that. She then noticed the hand and quickly took it. She nodded her head and they walked back to the big house. Along the way, she was thinking deeply. He could be an Aries kid. If he is not, I am not sure what else he could be. He beat me and could have killed me without even trying. Arriving at the big house, Chiron saw that Naruto looked bored and Clarice looked a little lost. He had a feeling something went wrong with her welcome plan. Back already, I see. He started. There is also a new camper that has arrived yesterday. Naruto was surprised to know. Okay, Naruto, you can go and tour the camp but return here at the big house. Alright then. I am going to take a nap next to the big pine tree. Say ya later. And before Chiron could say anything, Naruto had Ninja jumped up to the tree. Naruto arrived at the tree and sat down with his back to it. This tree was giving him some weird feelings. Maybe he should investigate about the tree in the future. He laid his head against the tree and was wondering about everything up till now and then slowly falling asleep. Next day, getting up, headed back to the big house to see Chiron there around a table with two other people he had not met yet. Yo! They turned their heads and saw him. By chaos. You worried me, child. I thought you disappeared, Chiron said, fully turning around. Oh, I just fell asleep against the pine tree, Naruto replied as Chiron facepalmed. Anyway, I would like you to meet these two, Chiron said. Naruto took a look at them both. One had a surfer's build and had a lot of eyes all over his body. The other one was an old fat man. These two are Argus and Mr. D respectively. Naruto just nodded because Mr. D looked very tired, or was it bored? Well, I guess I must say it. Welcome to Camp Half-Blood. Nice to be here. Naruto smiled, and it was infectious because the man smiled, but it was small. Thinking back to all the mythology he had read that would shock everyone in the elemental, he did know a lot or remember a lot of people that started with a D, so that brought out the thing he was about to say. Mr. D. I don't know a lot of Greek history, but there is one guy whose name would fit with you, but names are powerful, so I will just say that you are the wine god. Well, you are a smart boy. You are correct, Mr. D replied, gaining some respect for the blonde. Wow. Granny Tsunade would love you then. She drinks all the time. Oh, and since your other power is similar to her family's wood release power, are you guy related to her? Mr. D blinked a few times before laughing. Well, I can honestly say that I have never been to your world that Chiron told me you were from. Now, I have heard about it from the other gods. Now, if I ever get away from this place, I might just take a look. Oh, and to answer your question, no, I am not related to her. Oh. Naruto said, I really starting to love this. Naruto replied with a smile, it was freaking infectious. It was the best decision he made by coming here. He doesn't have to worry about being a Jinchuriki, no Akatsuki and foolish thing. He understood definitely, he belonged to this place. Hearing gasps from a certain direction, Naruto noticed a now forming group of people surrounding a particular building. Curiosity filled in him, he began walking towards it. When Naruto finally got there, he was greeted to the sight of a familiar girl who was drenched from head to toe. There were also other teens who were wet as well, but not as much as the girl. However, they all had a look of murderous intent on their faces, and it was all directed to a certain boy in front of them, who was now rubbing his hair sheepishly from nervousness. I don't suppose a simple apology will do, even though you did try to dunk my head in the toilet, Percy mumbled the last part. The girl had her hands clenched in anger. It was pretty evident that she felt absolute loathing for the boy. A pissed-off female is always the scariest. Naruto grunted to no one in particular. This is not how it's supposed to work. Newbies are supposed get this treatment, not me. Clarice screamed while still very much glaring at him. Well, you sow what you reap, ha, Clarice. Naruto interrupted while slowly walking beside the boy. Percy's eyes went wide open when he saw him. But before he could say anything to him, she interrupted him. Naruto, what the fuck you meant by that? She retorted, unaware of her current state because of her anger toward the young black-haired boy. Well, you were trying to prank, but he pranked you back just like I did yesterday. Percy and Grover shocked to learn about that before he gave the boy beside him a light punch. Hey, what was that for? Percy asked, puzzled as to why Naruto was now bullying him. Don't piss off someone if don't have the power to back yourself. Your enemies won't hesitate to hurt you, Naruto said in his wisdom. Hey, move out of the way, I have no quarrels with you. It's the boy beside you that I wish to teach a lesson to, Clarice warned while pointing directly at Percy. This made Percy gulp a bit from being called out in front of so many people who had now encircled them. Naruto looked between the two people with a look of thought, then simply shrugged his shoulder and moved away from Percy, much to the young boy's horror. Wait. Why are you leaving? Do you want me to die by this barbaric girl? The scared boy pleaded, much to Clarice's annoyance. Rolling his eyes, he glanced back at Clarice. The reason why I am not helping you, how should I put this? When you start a war, you finish it yourself. I will not fight everyone's fight. Naruto muttered, much to the boy's terror and the girl's delight. Thanks, Naruto. Clarice muttered while smiling like a mad maid. Naruto demigods pulled out their respective weapons. Clarice grabbed the electrified spear that was attached to her back. Meanwhile, Percy, still conflicted as to whether or not he should fight this girl, but before anything could happen, a yell was heard from within the crowd. Stop, you guys. A heavily huffing Annabeth shouted while trying to regain her breath. Clarice, you know what Chiron told you, no fighting until Friday. Yeah. And what's to stop me from breaking that deal? Clarice replied, gripping her spear tighter in annoyance. Do I need to remind you about the last time you broke one of Chiron's little deals, musclehead? Annabeth warned. She then felt a sense of satisfaction when she saw Clarice's face go deathly gray. Knowing her threat was a direct hit, she began shooing away the crowd, much to their disappointment of not seeing a battle. Clarice, however, cursed loudly to Percy before storming off with her supporters following closely behind her. Letting go a breath that he was unknowingly holding in, he sighed loudly to himself. He let himself fall to the ground so that he was laying with his back on it. He was really happy that he didn't have to fight that girl, or else he was afraid that she would have absolutely annihilated him. Sup? Annabeth, Naruto said to her, which she nodded back. What was that you did to Clarice? Naruto asked, now looking down at Percy, who was still laying flatly against the ground. Shrugging his shoulders, he answered back, I don't really know myself. One moment I was being dragged into the girls' bathroom, the next moment the water from the toilet explodes out and pours Clarice and her gang out of the bathroom. I am surprised though that I don't seem to be wet in the very least. Percy added while frowning from the statement. Wait, Percy. You actually controlled the water? Annabeth asked in surprise, while Naruto had a hidden smirk as he understood who is this kid's divine parent. Percy instantly noticed the girl when she walked towards them. He couldn't help but to blush slightly from having an attractive girl speaking directly to him. But he quickly remembered that the girl had asked him a question. Looking up in thought, he suddenly got to his feet before replying, yeah, you could say that. It was a really strange feeling now that I think about it. I see, she whispered. This made Percy give her a strange look before diverting his attention once again back to Naruto. Forgetting your most recent action, and about what you said, even tough, I don't like it. I understand. Percy stated before reaching his hand out. Noticing what the boy was asking, Naruto reciprocated the boy's welcoming gesture. The name's Percy Jackson. Naruto Uzumaki. So what I have learned from this place, every camper here is a demigod, half a god to be more precise. Naruto nodded in agreement. Then that means we both are either a child of a god or a goddess. Again, Naruto nodded. Okay. I don't suppose you know who your parent is then? Percy asked innocently. Naruto just smirked at him and Annabeth's eye widened. You actually know about your divine parent? Asked Annabeth in amazement, and Naruto just winked at them. So, is your divine parent a he or a she? Asked Percy. My divine parent is my father and I won't reveal his identity, yet, replied Naruto. What, why? Asked Percy. Oh. Percy, you will understand soon enough, said Naruto, making them groan. You don't know your divine parent, do you? Percy nodded his head in confirmation. Well, hearing that you controlled the water in the toilet, which mean your father is Po. A hand was quickly clasped in front of Naruto's mouth, effectively muffling his last slightly at the girl who had interrupted his revelation. He noticed Annabeth mouth the words, I am sorry. Huffing, he gently removed her hand from his mouth. Percy though had stared at the scene.
Naruto was going to say that your parent could have potentially been one of the Olympians. Annabeth hastily replied, hoping that Percy wouldn't press on. Thankfully, He seemed to be content with that information. Thank the gods this boy is dense. She silently thought before, unexpectedly, pulling Naruto to the side in order to have a private discussion with Naruto, much to Percy's confusion.
Naruto, don't you know the three supreme gods of the Greek pantheon, Zeus, Poseidon and Hades, are forbidden to have children? If what you were about to blurt out is true, then the oath would have been broken, Annabeth hissed.
You mean the oath they have taken to not to have children because of a prophecy? Naruto asked, and Annabeth nodded.
Do you, Naruto Uzumaki, swear on the river Styx to not tell anyone what I will say unless I gave you permission to? Annabeth demanded. I, Naruto Uzumaki, swear on the river Styx to never tell anyone about what you are about to tell me unless you gave me permission to. Suddenly a loud boom could be heard in the distance. Annabeth, now satisfied with his oath, spoke up in a hushed tone. Talia Grace was the first child to have been born from the three gods. Her father was, ironically, Zeus. Now, hiding her relationship with Zeus from the other two gods was nearly impossible. So it was no surprise to any of us that Hades was the one who found out their connection. Knowing she would pretty much die unless she went somewhere safe, it was decided that she come stay at Camp Half-Blood. But damned that day, Artemis was busy that time and a lot monsters were chased by a lot of monsters, and thanks to Hades' help we managed to get her to the entrance of Camp Half-Blood, but she trailed off. Naruto let her weep quietly to herself before she felt comfortable again to talk. But we weren't fast enough to make it. Talia, knowing the outcome, sacrificed herself so that Luke, Grover, and I would make it. Zeus, pitying her death, transformed her into a pine tree that you had slept under last night. She now protects the camp with a magical barrier that prevents any monsters from entering. Annabeth was now gazing toward that particular tree. Wow. No wonder I felt something from that tree. Naruto realized before noticing that Annabeth was about to cry once more. Without thinking, he wrapped his arms around her for comfort, and began whispering soothingly into her ear. Hey, wouldn't have wanted you to cry because of fault. One here is Zeus. As a father he should have protected her. He whispered to her and comforted her. Thanks Naruto for your words. So, what now? Percy asked. Ah. I forgot to tell you if you are undetermined, so we'll stay in Hermes' cabin for the time being, said Annabeth. Hermes' cabin? Why? Asked Percy. Well, undermined demigods stay in Hermes' cabin, said Naruto. What happens if they are not claimed? Asked Percy. The gods have a lot of kids and they don't always, well, sometimes they don't care about us, Percy. They ignore us, replied Annabeth. So I am stuck here, Percy said, thinking about all the sad expressions he saw at the cabin. He had seen that on some rich kids back at Yancey Academy. That's it? For the rest of my life? Well, it really depends. Annabeth stated. Some campers only stay. The monsters might ignore you, so you can get by with a few months of summer training and live in the mortal world the rest of the year. But for some of us, it's too dangerous to leave. We're year-rounders. In the mortal world, we attract monsters. They sense us. They come to challenge us. Most of the time, they'll ignore us. We're old enough to cause trouble, about 10 or 11 years old, but after that, most demigods either make their way here, or they get killed off. A few manage to survive in the outside world and become famous. Believe me, if I told you the names, you'd know them. Some don't even realize they're demigods. But very, very few are like that. So monsters can't get in here? Percy asked, hoping he was safe. Annabeth shook her head. Not unless they're intentionally stalked in the woods or specially summoned by somebody on the inside. Why would anybody want to summon a monster? Practice fights. Practical jokes. Practical jokes? Hey, some people's idea of a prank, sweet, Naruto said. I am familiar with summoning. What? Both Percy and Annabeth asked at the same time. Hey, you'll see later, I am sure. Naruto smirked. Anyway, Annabeth said while shaking her head. The point is, the borders are sealed to keep mortals and monsters out. From the outside, mortals look into the valley and see nothing unusual, just a strawberry farm. So, you're a year-rounder? Percy asked while Naruto was thinking this place was protected by a very strong genjutsu. Annabeth nodded. From under the collar of her t-shirt she pulled a leather necklace with 5 clay beads of different colors. It was just like Luke's, except Annabeth's also had a big gold ring strung on it, like a college ring. I've been here since I was 7, she said. Every August, on the last day of summer session, you get a bead for surviving another year. I've been here longer than most of the counselors, and they're all in college. Why did you come so young? She twisted the ring on her necklace. None of your business. Oh. Percy stood there for a minute in uncomfortable silence. So, I could just walk out of here right now if I wanted to. It would be suicide, but you could, with Mr. D's or Chiron's permission. But they wouldn't give permission until the end of the summer session unless. Both boys asked, one eager to get away from this craziness while the other wanted to see more of the world and fight badass monsters. You were granted a quest. Annabeth announced. Percy Jackson, Naruto Uzumaki, meet Cabin 11. Regular or undetermined? Somebody asked. Guessing as how we just got here, I would say undetermined. Naruto deadpanned and there was a groan of annoyance from everyone in the cabin. A guy who was a little older than the rest came forward. Now, campers. That's what we're here for. Welcome, Percy, Naruto. You can have that spot on the floor, right over there. It is pretty big so the two of you will fit for now. The guy was about 19, and he looked pretty cool. He was tall and muscular, with short cropped hair and a friendly smile. He wore an orange tank top, cutoffs, sandals, and a leather necklace with 5 different colored clay beads. The only thing unsettling about his appearance was a thick white scar that ran from just beneath his right eye to his jaw, like an old knife slash. Oh ho, now this guy seems like fighter. Naruto smirked at the thought. This place was awesome. This is Luke. Annabeth said he's your counselor. For now, Percy said. Well, Cabin 11 takes all newcomers, all visitors. Naturally, we would. Hermes, our patron, is the god of travelers, said Luke as the two nodded as they already knew. Don't forget he is also the god of thieves, Naruto said, getting a few chuckles from the other campers. Yeah, I am gonna have to get a drill and bolt my stuff to the floor. This got even more snickers from the occupants, including decided to give back Luke's wallet. Here you go, man. Wah. Luke said a little surprised. How and when? Oh, just now, and I am a ninja. I can do that easily, Naruto said, getting a few shocked looks. Anyway, Percy interrupted, already used to Naruto's antics. How long are we going to be here? Good question, Luke said. Until you're determined. How long will that take? The campers all laughed. Come on, Annabeth told me. I'll show you the volleyball court. I've already seen it, Percy replied. Come on. She grabbed his wrist and dragged him outside. Percy could hear the kids of Cabin 11 laughing behind him. Naruto shook his head. This girl was odd, but she seemed fun to him. He then chuckled to himself. Could Percy already have a girlfriend and already be whipped? Nah, he just got here after all. When we were a few feet away, Annabeth said, Percy, you have to do better than that. What? She rolled her eyes and mumbled under her breath, I can't believe I thought you were the one. What's your problem? Percy spoke with anger. All I know is, I kill some bull guy. Don't talk like that, Annabeth told him. You know how many kids at this camp wish they had your chance? To get killed, Percy sarcastically, to fight the Minotaur. What do you think we train for? The girl yelled. To survive. Camp train the Greek demigods so they could survive in the world. Fame or glory ain't worth more than a life, Naruto said sternly to the daughter of Athena, who grimaced.
Sorry, wait, Theseus killed him in the labyrinth. So, Percy trailed off.
Monsters don't die, Percy. They can be killed, but they don't die, said Naruto. Oh, thanks. That clears it up. They don't have souls, like you and me. You can dispel them for a while, maybe even for a whole lifetime if you're lucky. But they are primal forces. Chiron calls them archetypes. Eventually, they reform. Great, Percy muttered. Naruto noticed Annabeth looking from Percy to him. What are you thinking? Percy, you have defeated a monster even though being inexperienced and untrained. In Naruto, you are already skilled and experienced and know stuffs that no campers know. So, will you to join me in the upcoming Capture the Flag? What stuffs? Asked Percy to Naruto. Well, I am from a different dimension, said Naruto to Percy, who was confused. I will explain to you later, Percy, who nodded dumbly. UGHHH. Okay, Percy said to Annabeth. Count me in, replied Naruto. Cabin 11. Everybody was talking and horsing around, waiting for dinner. While Naruto was walking along the walls and ceiling, freaking everyone out, Percy had just noticed that a lot of the campers in the cabin had the same features: sharp noses, upturned eyebrows, mischievous smiles. They were the kind of kids that teachers would peg as troublemakers. In a sense, they were sort of like Naruto, natural-born pranksters. He was relieved that he was left alone for the moment as he sat down with his minotaur horn. The counselor, Luke, had the Hermes family resemblance, too. It was marred that scar on his right cheek, but his smile was intact. "Found you a sleeping bag," he said. "And here, I stole you some toiletries from the camp store." Percy rose an eyebrow. "Thanks. No prob." Luke sat next to him, pushed his back against the wall. "Tough first day. Though, unlike you, Naruto seems to be adjusted and happy here." "I am not Naruto." Percy chuckled sadly. I don't think I belong here. I mean, I didn't even believe in the gods and now I hear they exist." "Yeah," Luke said. "That's how we all started. Once you start believing in them, it doesn't get any easier. But I am curious, Naruto is from the Shinto dimension, right?" "Yeah. Well, he says he is from a dimension ruled by the Shinto gods called the elemental dimension. At first I didn't believe, but he did unexplainable stuffs and the things I have experienced for past few days made me believe," Percy said. "Ah. Yes, I have heard of that place, as I had overheard some Olympians speak at the Annabeth, and a few others had that dimension as a very war-torn. Of course Ares, god of war, loves that place. Artemis and Apollo also love that. Many of them have been there a few times," Luke explained. "Wow, who knew? I guess that even the gods need breaks." Percy chuckled and Luke laughed along with him. "So, your dad is Hermes?"
He pulled a switchblade out of his back pocket, and for a second Percy thought he was going to gut him, but he just scraped the mud off the sole of his sandal. "Yeah, Hermes.
"The god of thieves and messengers?" Percy asked, skeptical. "That's him. Messengers. Medicine. Travelers, merchants, thieves. Anybody who uses the roads. That's why you're here, enjoying Cabin 11's hospitality. Hermes and few others aren't picky about who they sponsors." "Have you ever met your father?" I asked. "Once," Luke said, but didn't seem to say more on that subject. "So, I guess he claims all his kids," Percy said. "Pretty much, but I was kind of wondering if Naruto was one of us." "Apparently not, as he has not been claimed yet," Luke said, amused as they saw Naruto was walking on the wall. "Don't worry about it, Percy. The campers here, they're mostly good people. After all, we're extended family, right? We take care of each other. I wish I could also do the stuffs that Naruto do." Percy was glad that he met him and Grover, otherwise he would find difficulty in the then ask something that has been bugging him. What Annabeth meant that either I or Naruto to be the one. What was that all about? Luke folded his knife. "I hate prophecies." "What do you mean?" Luke's face twitched around the scar. "Let's just say I messed things up for everybody else. The last 2 years, ever since my trip to the Garden of the Hesperides went sour, Chiron hasn't allowed any more quests. Annabeth's been dying to get out into the world. She pestered Chiron so much he finally told her he already knew her fate. Had a prophecy from the oracle. He wouldn't tell her the whole thing, but he said Annabeth wasn't destined to go on a quest yet. She had to wait until somebody special came to the camp." "Somebody special? You mean like me, or more specifically, Naruto?" "I mean, he is pretty special and do things I couldn't even imagine," Percy asked. "Don't worry about it, kid," Luke said. "Annabeth wants to think every new camper who comes through here is the omen she's been waiting for. Now, come on, it's dinner time." The moment he said it, a horn blew in the distance. Luke yelled, "11, fall in." The whole cabin, about 20 or so of kids, filed into the commons yard. Campers came from the other cabins except for the 3 empty cabins at the end, and cabin 8, which had looked normal in the daytime, but was now starting to glow silver as the sun went down. They marched up the hill to the mess hall pavilion. Satyrs joined the group from the meadow. Naiads emerged from the canoeing lake. A few other girls came out of the woods, literally. In all, there were maybe 100 campers, a few dozen satyrs, and a dozen assorted wood nymphs and naiads. At the pavilion, torches blazed around the marble columns. A central fire burned in a bronze brazier the size of a bathtub. Each cabin had its own table, covered in white cloth trimmed in purple. 4 of the tables were empty, but cabin 11's was way overcrowded. Percy had to squeeze onto the edge of a bench with half his butt hanging off. Naruto was smart and did a small earth jutsu and made a seat for himself, shocking many, who wondered how he did it. The boys saw Grover sitting at table 12 with Mr. D, a few satyrs, and a couple of plump blonde boys who looked just like Mr. D. Chiron stood to one side, the picnic table being way too small for a centaur. That made Naruto laugh some. Annabeth sat at table 6 with a bunch of serious-looking athletic kids, all with her gray eyes and honey blonde hair. Clarice sat behind them at a rest table. Shed apparently gotten over being hosed down and then blow-dried, because she was laughing and belching right alongside her friends. Finally, Chiron pounded his hoof against the marble floor of the pavilion, and everybody fell silent. He raised a glass. To the gods. Everybody else raised their glasses. To the gods. Percy did it weakly, still trying to get used to hear while Naruto cheered for his father quietly. Wood nymphs came forward with platters of food. Grapes, apples, strawberries, cheese, fresh bread, and yes, barbecue. Naruto and Percy's glasses was empty, but Luke said, "Speak to it. Whatever you want, non-alcoholic, of course." While Percy experimented with his blue cherry Coke, Naruto asked, "Pepsi?" He took a sip, then some food was given to him and was about to dig in. But Luke said, "Come on." His stomach needed good food, right now. He and Percy followed him to the fire and saw people throwing in a good portion of their food in it. This made them wonder why you would throw away good food. Burnt offerings for the gods, Luke explained. They like the smell. Naruto looked puzzled. Why would an immortal, all-powerful being love the smell of burnt food? Naruto asked and Percy nodded. Luke approached the fire without answering him, bowed his head, and tossed in a cluster of fat red grapes. Hermes. Percy made a silent plea to his father. He threw it in there and not much happened except for an odd smell of chocolate and fresh-baked brownies, hamburgers on the grill and wildflowers, and 100 other good things that should have gone well together, but did. Percy looked oddly at it before letting Naruto have his turn. Hestia, Hades, Persephone, Demeter, Aphrodite, he muttered. In order, the patron of the hearth and his aunt, his father, his stepmother, immortal cousin, his aunt and the patron of agriculture, and the goddess of love. He threw a very small piece of his barbecue after saying each name, which filled the air with a different Hestia. The smell of many different delicious foods filled the air. For his father, aura of death could be felt and fire for seconds turned night. Demeter and Persephone. The smell of freshly harvested corn, wheat, and soybeans filled the air, and when he gave honor to Aphrodite, a sense of warmth and love could be felt. Naruto and Percy quickly went back to the table before anyone asked any questions. People raised their eyebrows at all the divinity Naruto named. After that, both boys ate quickly. Naruto learned that they even made pizza here, another one of his favorite foods. Even better, it seemed never-ending here. Naruto was enjoying this place a lot. Naruto also saw table 10, which was completely pink. Sitting there were tons of boys and girls, all good-looking and beautiful, which meant they were the children of Aphrodite. When everybody had returned to their seats and finished eating their meals, Chiron pounded his hoof again for their attention. Mr. D got up with a huge sigh. "Yes. I suppose I'd better say hello to all you brats." "Well, hello. Our activities director, Chiron, says the next capture the flag is Friday. Cabin 5 presently holds the laurels." A bunch of cheering rose from the Ares table. "Personally," Mr. D continued, "I couldn't care less, but congratulations. Also, we have 2 new campers. Peter Johnson and Nathaniel Queen." "Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto yelled out and Mr. D just smirked. He liked this kid, but it was fun getting on his nerves. There was also laughter from many of the it was for mainly for the fact that a camper had gut to yelled at Mr. D. Then Chiron muttered something. Percy Jackson, Mr. D corrected. "That's right. Hurrah, and all that. Now run along to your silly campfire. Go on." Time skip. The first activity Naruto had was sword and shield class, and to everyone's surprise Luke. He took this well as he also wanted to test him against a trained assassin. "Think you can win?" asked Luke as they circled each other, with their audience watching silently. "Well, see." Naruto said. Luke swung his blade to the side, hoping to catch him off guard. He just blocked it with a reversed blade. Naruto blocked several slashes from him before Luke locked his sword with Naruto and used his skill to twist out of Naruto's grip, and then bashed Naruto in the jaw with the shield. Naruto stumbled away, more due to the unexpected nature of the attack, and not because it actually hurt him. Now I am starting to get annoyed. Naruto thought in anger and he decided to stop holding back as much. He rushed up and punched his shield, causing a loud sound to reverberate through the camp as he grabbed the shield and twisted it with Luke's arm still attached, causing him to spin around in the air. Luke managed to land on his feet. Naruto pulled the shield out of his grip and slipped it onto his own arm before he used it to block a kick from him and punched Luke in the gut, knocking her 3 yards back. Luke got back up with an excited look as he ran at him. Naruto threw the shield in a straight line, with Luke forward rolling to the ground to avoid it, causing the shield to embed itself deeply into the trunk of a tree. Luke leapt up and kneed him in the chest, causing him to stumble backwards a bit. He then threw a right hook, but Naruto blocked it and jabbed him in the face. Naruto threw a hook of his own, but Luke was an expert in hand-to-hand, and blocked the attack, before using a wrestling maneuver to throw Naruto to the ground. Naruto kicked his legs out from under his and Luke fell on his back. The next thing Luke knew was that Naruto had a sword at his neck. "Yield or not," said Naruto to Luke, nodded in defeat. Naruto put the sword away and gave him his hand to lift him, which he accepted. "Damn. I knew you were strong, but this was something else," exclaimed Luke. "Thanks, you were also good," praised Naruto. Nighttime. At night, Naruto snuck out into the forest to do some extra training. He put his hands in the familiar cross shape and made himself 5,000 shadow clones. "Alright. I want a quarter of you working on chakra control and senjutsu, another to practice the forms in kenjutsu. Another works on ninjutsu. Last ones of you, taijutsu and fuinjutsu. Now get to work." His clone obeyed him and set about their. Meanwhile, Naruto bring Yamato to train. Time skip. 7 days passed and now it was the day of capture. That would wake up early, high five Mr. D, do pranks with Hermes kids, play chess with Athena's children and defeat them with ease, train Percy, and then at night he would train vigorously. Now they were making strategy to defeat their opponent and win. "And that is my plan," Naruto said to team was which formed of Athena, Apollo, Hermes and Aphrodite's cabin, and also him and Percy. A daughter of Athena looked at Naruto. "That's a pretty good plan, but can you really pull it off?" she said calmly. Naruto just smirked. "You've never seen me fight, huh?" He nodded to himself and he walked towards where a few kids were stabbing away a wooden dummy. The demigods gave way for then raised his hand in the air and said, "Sword me." A beautiful gold sword was thrown into his hand in an instant. Before anyone could blink, Naruto slashed at the dummy with speed no demigod could keep up with. It was only for a second. Naruto stopped and walked. Get this, while he walked away the dummy exploded in flaming glory. Many stared wide-eyed, mouth gaping as Naruto walked away. How was that even possible? I mean, he just slashed at it and it went boom. Naruto walked to her and gently closed her mouth by lifting her chin up. "Close your mouth, you might catch flies." Luke smirked as he had seen what Naruto was capable of. "We are definitely going to win," he said. "Yes, we are." Naruto smiled. "Wow. Naruto really is such a badass," said Percy in awe to Annabeth. "He is complete genius," replied Annabeth. In an instant Naruto took a step back. What the hell was going on with him? They seemed to notice him taking a step back. "Is something wrong?" one asked as she took a step forward. Naruto quickly came up with an excuse. Nothing. I just need to go scout the area," he said as he quickly ran away. He is sometimes weird. With that they went to prepare for the night. Nighttime. The woods. Standing at the top of the tallest tree in the woods and dressed in all black was game of capture. The flag was on. For the demigods it was a chance to prove themselves against each other and have them claimed by their divine parent. Annabeth had numbers on her side while Clarice had brute force. Annabeth had the Apollo kids who were the greatest marksmen on the island, the Hermes kids who were sneaky little shits. Not to forget, both cabins were packed to the brim because their dads are horn dogs, and finally the Aphrodite's children. Most people, when asked what they see when it comes to the Aphrodite kids, is that they're pretty little brats that like to dress up, gossip and flirt. But what he saw was a living weapon, a weapon that could gather information, was a master of disguise and a master of seduction. A week with the Aphrodite cabin and some secret turned those pretty little boys and girls into an information gathering syndicate. And every time they would meet up secretly in the Aphrodite cabin they would train in information gathering and seduction, and to forget martial arts, in case the seduction worked a bit too well. Clarice had the Ares cabin. The little bastards were determined. Not that smart, and not to forget Hephaestus, Demeter and Dionysus knew he had the most powerful cabin on his side. How about we do a little something, something, like what? Oh, when a boy and girl are alone in the woods. The boy in front of her gulped. She traced a finger on his cheek and she felt him shiver. Team leader Naruto was right. The easy way to get to a child of Aries was through physical contact. We should NT, come on. Oh okay. But I have never done something like this, the son of Aries said. Glad I am your first, love. Ruby red lips touched his cheek and his eyes rolled back and his blonde boy slumped to the ground in a heap. She smirked as the toxin in her lipstick put the boy out of commission. Her hand went to the comm hidden in her ear, turning it on. Selena to team leader, I have a location, she said as she put on her black clothes from backpack. A sound of static and a reply came. Good work. 30 minutes later, Percy was getting a little annoyed at how long it was taking for someone to come after him.
He has to thanks Naruto who had trained him for weak and turned him from useless to a trained fighter. Now he was confident and ready to face other opponents.
Naruto had told him about his plan and gave him instruction of what to do. He smiled when he saw Clarice and her siblings coming towards him. Percy charged towards her. He raised his sword, but Clarice dodged. Then she used her spear as sparks flew and launched towards him. Oh, Clarice said. It seems you are not so pathetic after all. The flag is that way for your information, Percy told her. Yeah, one of her siblings said. But see, we don't care about the flag. We care about a guy who made our cabin look stupid. You do that nothing without my help, Percy growled out and he instantly regretted it because it was probably the dumbest thing to say at the moment. Two of them came at Percy. He backed up toward the creek, tried to raise his shield, but Clarice was fast. Her spear stuck his straight in the ribs. If he hadn't been wearing an armored breastplate, he would have been shish kebabbed. It still hurt like hell because the point got through and shocked him. One of her cabin mates slashed his sword across his arm, leaving a good size cut. No maiming, Percy got out, feeling dizzy. Now Naruto had enough, he took out something to end this. Oops, the guy said. Guess I lost my dessert privilege. They then pushed Percy into the lake, which was a mistake for them. Inside the lake, Percy's all wound healed up and then he came out from the lake much to their surprise and charged towards them. Percy caught one with his hands and punched him in the face, knocking him unconscious while the other went towards him prepared to strike. Percy parried him with his sword and gave him a punch disbalancing him, then headbutt him. He falls to the ground and turned towards Clarice. She prepared herself. Shall we? With pleasure. Naruto calmly watched from the shadows as Luke and his party reached the flag. He watched as the Aries kids were taken out with ease, all according to plan. While everyone was fighting, Naruto slipped in unnoticed. He quickly went in disarmed and took out a few Ares kids. Soon the fighting was done and Luke quickly got the flag. We got it, let's move. He yelled as every one of his party that was still standing cheered. With the flag in hand he begun to run, only to stop in front of a disguised Naruto. His blue eyes lingered on Naruto for a while before he nodded and Naruto nodded back. They saw their opponents coming to them and looked at each other and Aries kids rushed on Naruto and he parried their sloppy strikes away before hilt slamming one in the forehead, while Luke punched the one who came towards him in the face. The other Aries kids rushed Naruto, who smirked and ducked, sweeping their feet and making them land on the ground, knocking them out. Then he pulled the shield off that one and threw it Captain America style. It hit the Aries kid's nose and smacked him down painfully. He sliced another kid across the chest. It was a shallow cut, the fool would heal easily enough. Then he disarmed him and elbowed him in the face, knocking him out. Luke, give me the flag now. And you deal with them, Naruto said as Luke gave him the flag. Win for us, team leader, said Luke while fighting his opponents. Don't let him go. I will deal with Castellan, shouted a child of Aries to his siblings as they started to chase him. Naruto was smirking as his plan was taking in action. As he was being chased by his opponents, they suddenly heard Annabeth yell. Archers. She said, ready. The trees above them were filled to the brim with Apollo kids all armed with bows and deadly arrows, much to the shock of the opponents. Naruto simply nodded. Good, he said. With of his opponents were bombarded with arrows as Naruto increased his pace and saw he was reaching his destination. Meanwhile, Clarice charged, her electric spear sparking towards Percy. He handled it with ease, ducking and weaving around several stabs. He caught the shaft of her spear with one hand, then snapped it when he hit the spear with his sword. You know, that was a gift from my dad, Clarice pointed out as Percy dropped the spear. Sorry, but you were trying to skewer with that thing just now, he pointed out.
True. A few years ago, I would have been pissed beyond belief, but now.
Well, I think I might have outgrown the spear, Clarice said. She closed her eyes as flames appeared on the palm of her one hand and she put her in her flame-covered palm. A bronze pommel appeared in her fist, and when she pulled it away, an elaborate greatsword was in her hand. The grip and bronze circular pommel were rather simple, but the hilt was 3 hound heads that seemed like they were breathing metal, which formed into the blade, before the blade itself was coated in red fire. Clarice reopened her eyes and they now were colored crimson, like the color of blood. They were about to continue their fight when they heard yelling, elated screams, and saw Naruto racing towards the boundary line with the red team's banner lifted high. He was flanked by a couple of Hermes guys covering his retreat, and a few Apollo kids after them, fighting off the Hephaestus kids. Her eyes were widened in realization of her opponent's plan. What the fuck? It was a fucking distraction, yelled Clarice in desperation while Percy was chuckling at Naruto's plan. Everyone converged on the creek as Naruto ran across into friendly territory. The blue side exploded into cheers. The red banner shimmered and turned into boar and spear were replaced with a huge caduceus, the symbol of Cabin 11. Everyone on the blue team picked Naruto up and started carrying him around on their shoulders. Chiron cantered out from the woods and blew the conch horn. The game was over. They had won. The boy was about to join the celebration when he heard Annabeth's voice right behind to him in the creek, said, "Not bad, hero." Percy turned around and saw her. Annabeth said, "Naruto's training was worth after, isn't it?" "Yes. I have to thank him for this," said Percy as Percy started to walk, and suddenly the celebration stopped for some reason. "Bai was fucking right," muttered Annabeth to herself. He saw everyone's gaze towards saw that their eyes, Naruto included, were above his head. "Percy," Annabeth said, pointing upward. By the time he looked up, the sign was already fading, but he could still make out the hologram of green light, spinning and gleaming. A 3-tipped spear, a trident. "It is determined," Chiron announced. All around him, campers started kneeling, even the Ares cabin, though they didn't look happy about it. And saw Naruto smirking towards him, meaning he knew the identity of his father. "My father is Poseidon?" Percy whispered, completely bewildered. "Poseidon," said Chiron. "Earthshaker, Stormbringer, father of horses. Hail, Perseus Jackson, son of the sea god." As all the demigods struck their shields with their swords and spears 3 times. Percy looked to Naruto for help, but gasped when he saw what was above Naruto. Everyone looked where Percy was looking and their jaws dropped. Above Naruto were 4 symbols. One, larger than the other 3, was that of a dark helmet. The symbol of other 3 were an 8-pointed star, a golden sun in a black circle with a Kurumakan shuriken. "Oh crap, Hades, god of the underworld," Grover announced, "but what are the other 3? Chiron spoke loudly. "The rich one, the silent one, god of the dead and king of the underworld. Protégénoe of the sky, first lord of the sky, king of the stars. Protégénoe of the upper air, light and the sun, first lord of the sun, king of the upper air. Protégénoe and the first king of the Shinto, father of the Shinto Trinity. All hail Naruto Uzumaki, son of Hades, grandson of Izanagi no Mikoto, great-grandson of Ether and great-great-grandson of Uranos." He called out as the demigods struck their shields with their swords and spears 3 times once again. Naruto himself was too stunned to learn about his heritage. "Holy crap," came a voice from the crowd, pretty much saying what was in all their minds. Apollo's viewing cinema. Artemis did not want to be here. But Apollo had all but forced to come. That means she had to seat with Aphrodite. Just fucking great. What makes this event of Capture the Flag so special for all of us to gather like this? Athena asked. God turned towards Apollo for a reason. Poseidon chuckled quietly. "That's kinda obvious," he muttered to himself. "Really?" The love goddess asks loudly. "Why is that?" Artemis groaned loudly. "So loud. Oh come on Artemis. Leave me be, but I wanna know what this is about." Aphrodite pouted. "I'll tell you what it's about." Demeter stood up dramatically. "It's about my glorious children's capture the flag." Zeus said, "This is ridiculous. Your face is ridiculous." Demeter yelled as she shook her fist at the king. "You are just jealous that you were forbidden to have any kids. How dare you talk to your king like that? King of what? The losers who do nothing but sit on their ass all day." "Hey, I take offense to that." Zeus yelled. Take that back. Silence. Hestia has had enough. Can we just get this over with? All right. Fearing what his aunt might do to him, Apollo conjured up a golden remote and pressed play. There we go. The large screen turned on and all eyes turned to it.
Wait, screen turned black and everyone groaned. Oh, shut up, I dropped my popcorn, Ares said as he picked his popcorn.
Enough of this. Hestia's hands glowed with power. The screen turned on and all were treated to a very unusual sight. A figure dressed in all black could be seen standing on one of the tallest trees in the forest. His albino hair blowing in the soft wind. His violet eyes glowed in the dark as he stared up at the moon. Most were confused at what a demigod was doing in such a very unusual place. To Artemis it was like he was looking directly at her, and it made her heart beat a tad bit faster while Hestia blushed at Naruto's look. By chaos, I know him. He was the one who gave a sacrifice for a beauty he is. Aphrodite squealed as she pointed at the screen. Hey, isn't he the ninja boy from Shinto Dimension? Asked Hermes to Dionysus. Many were surprised by this revelation. Shinto Dimension, huh? Artemis muttered. He is a trained ninja, said Athena. Now this is interesting, said Ares. Zeus and Poseidon felt a feeling that they had seen him somewhere. The albino from before could be seen hopping from tree to tree at fast speeds. Many divines whispered to themselves about how impressive it was to tree hop at fast speeds. As impressive as it was, but Artemis had a feeling that the demigod could move way faster than this, and do even more impressive things than tree hopping. The scene then changes to a beautiful girl and young man alone in the woods, at night. How about we do a little something, she whispered seductively. Something. Like what? Oh, you know, when a boy and girl are alone in the woods, the girl said as she traced finger on his cheek. The son of Ares, one could tell by his blonde hair and storm-gray eyes, blushed hard. Ha, what a moron. We should NT, come on, look. Oh, okay. But I have never done something like this. A virgin. Oh, who? Glad I could help, love. She kissed his cheek. The boy's eyes widened and then rolled to the back of his head. Wow, boo, no sex scene. Selena to team leader, I have a location. Who was she talking to? Athena asked as she narrowed her eyes. Apollo zoomed in on Selena's ear. The scene zoomed into Selena's ear. There was a little black device in her ear. A sound of static and a reply come. Good job, Ares chuckled to himself as chewed his popcorn. Damn, these things are always boring because no one dies anymore. But this is starting to get interesting, he said as watched the unusual but highly entertaining game of capture the flag. The scene changed as they saw a boy, which made many confused. Zeus was annoyed seeing his nephew and Poseidon smiled when he saw his son. Ah. Who is that kid? Asked Apollo. The boy's name is Percy Jackson, said Dionysus. Why do you sound like you are annoyed? Asked Athena. He is just like the typical campers who can't accept the truth. Well, he would have problems at first. After all, it is his first time entering the supernatural world, Dionysus, said Athena while Dionysus snorted at her words. Percy was getting a little annoyed at how long it was taking for someone to come after him. He has to thank Naruto, who had trained him for weak and turned him from useless to a trained fighter. Now he was confident and ready to face other opponents. Naruto had told him about his plan and gave him instruction of what to do. He smiled when he saw Clarice and her siblings coming towards him. Percy charged towards her. He raised his sword, but Clarice dodged. Then she used her spear as sparks flew and launched towards him. Look, Ares' daughter, she will pulverize that punk. Oh, Clarice said. It seems you are not so pathetic after all. The flag is that way, Percy told her. Many at that laughed when they heard him say that. Yeah, one of her siblings said. But see, we don't care about the flag. We care about a guy who made our cabin look stupid. You do that without my help, Percy growled out, and he instantly regretted it because it was probably the dumbest thing to say at the moment. Two of them came at Percy. He backed up toward the creek, tried to raise his shield, but Clarice was fast. Her spear stuck his straight in the ribs. If he hadn't been wearing an armored breastplate, he would have been shish kebabbed. It still hurt like hell because the point got through and shocked him. One of her cabin mates slashed his sword across his arm, leaving a good size cut. No maiming, Percy got out, feeling dizzy. Oops, the guy said. Guess I lost my dessert privilege. They then pushed Percy into the lake, which was a mistake for them. Inside the lake, Percy's all wound healed up, and then he came out from the lake much to their surprise and charged towards them. To most who were watching, they were surprised by Percy to come out of the lake with his injuries healed. Ares lost his smirk. Athena and Apollo narrowed their eyes when they watched that. Zeus was annoyed while Poseidon smirked. "Do it, son, show everyone what you can do." "Did his wounds just healed?" asked Hermes. Percy caught one with his hands and punched him in the face, knocking him unconscious, while the other went towards him prepared to strike. Percy parried him with his sword and gave him a punch, disbalancing him, then headbutt him. He falls to the ground and turned towards Clarisse. She prepared herself. "Shall we?" With pleasure. Many were impressed by their fight. Poseidon was proud of his son while Zeus was frowning. "What the worries? Clarisse will defeat that punk," said Ares. Then he looked towards Aphrodite. "Aphrodite, my children are amazing, aren't they?" He smirked while she had a disinterested look. She was more interested in Naruto than his children.
Scene again changed. Naruto calmly watched from the shadows as Luke and his party reached the flag. He watched as the Ares kids were taken out with ease, all according to plan. While everyone was fighting, Naruto slipped in unnoticed. He quickly went in, disarmed, and took out a few Ares kids. Soon the fighting was done and Luke quickly got the flag.
"We got it, let's move," he yelled as every one of his party that was still standing cheered. With the flag in hand, he began to run, only to stop in front of a disguised Naruto. His blue eyes lingered on Naruto for a while before he nodded, and Naruto nodded back. They saw their opponents coming to them and looked at each other, and Ares kids rushed on Naruto and he parried their sloppy strikes away before hilt slamming one in the forehead, while Luke punched the one who came towards him in the face. The other Ares kids rushed Naruto, who smirked and ducked, sweeping their feet and making them land on the ground, knocking them out. Then he pulled the shield off that one and threw it. Captain America hit the Ares kid's nose and smacked him down painfully. At beginning they thought it would be boring, but as they continued to watch they were getting more interested and surprised, especially by Naruto's strategy and strength. "Look, Ares kids are coming towards them," said Apollo. "My children will easily crush them," said Ares arrogantly. Many shook their head in disagreement as they had a feeling something amazing is going to happen. When they saw how Naruto and Luke defeated their opponent with ease, they impressed while Ares had open-mouth face. He. Something about easily crushing them, Ares," Artemis mocked. "Luke is a good fighter," Hermes said Apollo to his brother, and Hermes nodded but had a sad smile on his face. "Although Luke and Percy are cute, Naruto is sexy and strong," said Aphrodite with a blush when she saw Naruto fighting. Athena and Artemis just rolled their eyes at her words. "I wonder what Naruto is going to do now and who might be his divine parent," Athena asked to herself. In the underworld, Hades was watching his son's capture with a smirk. In Olympus, many wondered the same, who might be the divine parent of Naruto. Though Zeus and Poseidon had a hunch that whose son he could, they looked at Naruto, they were reminded of a younger Hades. He sliced another kid across the chest. It was a shallow cut, the fool would heal easily enough. Then he disarmed him and elbowed him in the face, knocking him out. "Luke, give me the flag now, and you deal with Clarisse," Naruto said as Luke gave him the flag. "Win for us, team leader," said Luke while fighting Clarisse. "Don't let him go. I will deal with Castellan," shouted Clarisse as her teammates chased, was smirking as his plan was already taking in. Naruto was being chased by his opponents. They heard Annabeth yell, "Archers," she said, "ready." The trees above them were filled to the brim with Apollo kids, all armed with bows and deadly arrows, much to the shock of the opponents. Everyone were surprised to see their excellent teamwork. "They have a good teamwork," said Artemis, and Athena nodded.
"Whoa, what a turn of events!" exclaimed Hephaestus with surprise while Ares had a horrified face as his children were losing.
"Naruto really is amazing," shouted Apollo and Hermes while Artemis shook her head and smiled as she saw her family getting bonded. "I have to say this young demigod is very unpredictable," said Hera, and Demeter agreed with her. "I wonder if Naruto likes cereal," said Demeter. Many groans were heard, much to her annoyance. "Annabeth, well done," Athena whispered with a smile. Meanwhile, Clarisse charged, her electric spear sparking towards Percy. He handled it with ease, ducking and weaving around several stabs. He caught the shaft of her spear with one hand, then snapped it when he hit the spear with his sword. "You know, that was a gift from my dad," Clarisse pointed out as Percy dropped the spear. "Sorry, but you were trying to skewer with that thing just now," he pointed out. "True." A few years ago, I would have been pissed beyond belief, but now? Well, I think I might have outgrown the spear, Clarice said. She closed her eyes as flames appeared on the palm of her one hand and she put her in her flame-covered palm. A bronze pommel appeared in her fist and when she pulled it away, an elaborate greatsword was in her hand. The grip and bronze circular pommel were rather simple, but the hilt was 3 hound heads that seemed like they were breathing metal, which formed into the blade, before the blade itself was coated in red fire. Clarice reopened her eyes and they now were colored crimson, like the color of blood. They were about to continue their fight when they heard yelling, elated screams, and saw Naruto racing towards the boundary line with the red team's banner lifted high. He was flanked by a couple of Hermes guys covering his retreat, and a few Apollo kids after them, fighting off the Hephaestus kids. Her eyes were widened in realization of her opponent's plan. What the fuck? It was a fucking distraction, yelled Clarice in desperation while Percy was chuckling at Naruto's plan. Percy is also not bad, he has potential, Artemis commented while analyzing him. It was all distraction for them. Good. Athena praised. No, my children can't fucking lose, said Ares in anger. But they are losing, Ares, Hephaestus mocked him. Everyone converged on the creek as Naruto ran across into friendly territory. The blue side exploded into cheers. The red banner shimmered and turned into gray. The boar and spear were replaced with a huge caduceus, the symbol of Cabin 11. Everyone on the blue team picked Naruto up and started carrying him around on their shoulders. Chiron cantered out from the woods and blew the conch horn. The game was over. They had won. Yes, yelled Hermes and Apollo. Artemis and Athena nodded with a smile at Naruto's plan while Aphrodite was looking at Naruto with star in her eyes. Naruto Uzumaki interested her. Looks like the brat won, Zeus grumbled in annoyance.
Congratulations, my son, as Poseidon claimed his son, Percy.
The boy were about to join the celebration when Annabeth's voice, right next to them in the creek, said, "Not bad, hero." Percy looked around but could not see her. She took off the cap she was wearing and said, "Naruto's training was worth after, isn't it?" "So, Naruto trained him, huh?" Artemis said. "Yes. I have to thank him for this," said Percy. Poseidon mentally thanked him for training his son. He would reward him later for that. As Percy started to walk, suddenly the celebration stopped. By chaos. Naruto was fucking right after all, muttered Annabeth to herself. They had surprised face when they heard what Annabeth said. So that kid knew I was Percy's father, Poseidon muttered to himself. He saw everyone's gaze towards, saw that their eyes, Naruto included, were above his head. "Percy," Annabeth said, pointing upward. By the time he looked up, the sign was already fading, but he could still make out the hologram of green light, spinning and gleaming. A 3-tipped spear, a trident. "What? He is a son, Poseidon. I was right," said Athena to herself. "Uncle P, you just like Pops broke your oath," said Apollo, said Poseidon, who was laughing nervously. "Why can't they keep in their pants and take the oath seriously?" asked Artemis to herself while face-palming. Another infidelity, Hera groaned and glared at her brother, who shrank under his sister's gaze, while Hestia looked at her new family member with a smile. "It is determined," Chiron announced. All around him, campers started kneeling, even the Ares cabin, though they didn't look happy. About course, Naruto didn't making him feel better, because this was just awkward. "My father is Poseidon?" Percy asked, completely bewildered. "Poseidon," said Chiron. "Earthshaker, Stormbringer, father of horses. Hail, Perseus Jackson, son of the sea god." As all the demigods struck their shields with their swords and spears 3 times. "It's about time you acclaim Percy," said the sea god with a smile. Hades in the underworld wasn't surprised at all at the decided to claim his own son. Percy looked to Naruto for help, but gasped when he saw what was above Naruto. Everyone looked where Percy was looking and their jaws dropped. Above Naruto were 4 symbols. One, larger than the other 3, was that of a dark helmet. The symbol of other 3 were 8-pointed star, a golden sun in a black circle with a Kurumaken shuriken. Everyone's jaw dropped when they saw the heritage of Naruto. "What?" Zeus yelled in shock and stood up from his throne. "Whoa," Apollo mumbled while Hermes, Hephaestus and Ares stared at the screen in disbelief. "What the actual fuck?" Athena said in shock. Hestia didn't correct Athena this time for her vulgar words, as she was also stunned like the other divinities. A demi-protégénoe, Hera whispered, "Yar, what a drag." Even Hades was in shock as he didn't know about this, but it answered his earlier question. Oh crap, Hades, god of the underworld. Grover announced, but what are the other three? Chiron spoke loudly, the rich one, the silent one, god of the dead and king of the underworld. Protogenoe of the sky, first lord of the sky, king of the stars. Protogenoe of the upper air, light and the sun, first lord of the sun, king of the upper air. Protogenoe and the first king of the Shinto, father of the Shinto Trinity. All hail Naruto Uzumaki, son of Hades, grandson of Izanagi no Mikoto, great-grandson of Ether and great-great-grandson of Uranos. He called out as the demigods struck their shields with their swords and spears 3 times once again. Holy crap! Came a voice from the crowd, pretty much saying what was on all their minds. Naruto is the son of Uncle H. Said Apollo, not only that his ancestors are 2 fucking celestials, and he is also the grandson of old man Izanagi.
Naruto was not just a mere demigod, he was a demi-protagono. He has more denser and stronger divinity than a minor god.
He had a lot of untapped potential. His strength and divinity would increase with proper training and time, as he would easily rival a supreme god without a problem, which Zeus didn't like at all. He has 90% divine blood and 10% human, only that he has the blood of a Greek god and a Shinto god with 2 protogenoe. He is a being closer to a divine being. I dare say, he wouldn't even need a god's blessings for immortality, as he had the blood of 2 celestials. Athena said seriously. He is too strong. He might be connected for the theft of Masterbolt. Zeus yelled in paranoia, and they rolled their eyes. Brother, don't judge him in haste. Our nephew didn't even know was only thanks to Hades, said Poseidon. Yes, Zeus, don't blame young Naruto for anything, as he is innocent, said Hera in agreement. Besides, if you don't trust him, why not wait and when he comes to Olympus ask him to take an oath? Suggested Hera, while Zeus nodded in reluctance. Fine. Wow, Naruto is also related to me through my father, said Aphrodite with smile. To think he is demi-protogenoe, wow, said Demeter with a surprised face. Our nephews are great, aren't they? Said Hestia with sweet smile. Hera nodded, even though she didn't like the infidelity. But there is something I am confused and curious about, said Hera. What is it, sister? Naruto is not a bastard demigod. He is born from wedlock, said Hera, as many were surprised again. Hades must have married the women in the elemental dimension, said Poseidon. Agreed, brother. After all, Hades was never a womanizer, unlike you two, Hestia said with a sweet smile to her brothers, who were shivering in fear. He might be the first demigod born from wedlock, said Hera with a smile. At least he is not a pig-headed idiot, said Artemis, and many were surprised again. What? You know I am not a blind woman in hatred who hates every male. Those are just false rumors thanks to the humans. I just don't like males who look down on women or are rapists, justified the moon goddess, and everyone nodded at her words in understanding. Athena was impressed by Naruto's work and praised him, while Aphrodite was lost in her own world as she was thinking about our protagonist. The campers were in shock about Percy being the son of Poseidon, but that trampled on by the shock of Naruto's lineage. He was the son of Hades, king of underworld, and is related to 2 primordials, Uranos and Ether, and the father of the Shinto Trinity, Izanagi. It means he had both Shinto and Greek, was most shocking thing to them. You are full of surprises, ninja boy, Mr. D said with smirked. Yes, Hades is your father, Chiron said with a surprised face. His resemblance to you is uncanny. Only a blind fool wouldn't see your connection to Hades. Well, Uranos and Ether are my ancestors, and Izanagi. Naruto noticed Mr. D and Chiron's nervous faces. He is my grandfather. Well, we need to assign to you 2 new cabins, Chiron said. Percy, you will be in your father's cabin, so go get your stuff. Percy just nodded while he and Luke quickly got his stuff. Now Naruto, I am not so sure where to put you. Naruto just smirked. We never had any kids from Hades or from him. This is a camp for Greek gods' children, and your grandfather is a Shinto divinity, so obviously we don't have his cabin. We see a. Suddenly, all campers heard a rumbling sound. It was coming from the empty space between Poseidon's and Zeus' cabins. The ground began to shake, a fissure opened up, and a building as black as night raised from the ground with the screams of the dead. The cabin was totally black, and its walls had made of solid obsidian. There was a skull hung over the door. There had torches front of the door, which was burning with black fire. It was 13th cabin, Hades' cabin. Well, Now we have Hades' cabin, Mr. D said. Then he turned his head toward campers. Now show is over, so back to your respective cabin. All campers went to their respective cabin. Mr. D also went with them. Only Naruto and Kairon were standing alone there. It is interesting, isn't it? Now camp has all 3 children of Big 3, he said to Kairon. Kairon said, so you know. Yes. Me, Percy and Talia. Who told you about this, Naruto? Asked Kairon. Well, Annabeth explained to me when I discovered Percy's father to be Poseidon as I saw him controlled the water. Explained Naruto. Kairon shook his head. See, Naruto found himself in a dark void. Okay. I am supposed to in the camp, not here. He looked around and noticed there was nothing but darkness. Where am I? He shouted. You were in the void, unknown voice said from behind him. Turning back, he saw a figure. Who are you? Naruto said. Is this how you talk to your grandfather, Naruto? Why you, Izanagi. Yes. I am Izanagi no Mikoto, your grandfather, Izanagi announced himself. Naruto saw his grandfather, who had midnight black hair, pale skin and blue eyes like the endless void. Now I am not being rude, but why are you here? Naruto asked. Chaos smiled. Naruto, I came here to see you, he said. You are just like Mother Kushina. She was a Kenjutsu master and had a good Fuinjutsu prowess. Really, Gramps, thanks, said Naruto. Smiled while Izanagi chuckled. I know about your early life's pain and suffering, Izanagi said. But it's your chance for a fresh start and I know you are doing it well, dear grandson. Izanagi puts a hand on his head and he glowed for a moment. What was that? He asked. I strengthened your divine blood, Izanagi said, and Naruto nodded in understanding.
Goodbye, grandson. Goodbye, Naruto said. The next morning, Percy had a great day. He had his own cabin, which he didn't have to share with anybody. He had plenty of room for all his stuff. The Minotaur's horn, 1 set of spare clothes, and a toiletry bag, and he got to sit at his own dinner table, pick all his own activities, call lights out whenever he felt like it, and not listen to anybody else.
Percy had started to feel accepted, to feel he had a home in cabin 11 and he might be a normal kid, or as normal as you can be when you're a half-blood. Though there are some campers who were afraid of him and stayed away from him. He got the feeling they were all talking him and Naruto about what happened today. The other campers steered clear of them as much as possible. Percy also noticed, some campers were looking toward Naruto with fear and some with great admiration, and many girls were looking toward him with a blush. Some of the campers of cabin 11 were nervous to have sword class with Percy after what he had done for the Ares folks. Currently he practicing with Luke. You're going to need all the training you can get, Luke promised, as they were working with swords and flaming torches. Now let's try that viper beheading strike again. 50 more repetitions. Annabeth still taught Percy Greek in the mornings, but she seemed distracted. Every time he said something, she scowled at him, as if he had just poked her between the eyes. After lessons, she would walk away muttering to herself. Quest, Poseidon. Dirty rotten, got to make a plan. Later that night, both Naruto and Percy had the same dream where Poseidon and Zeus were fighting in Greek armor while Hades was watching them from the sidelines with an amused look. Then suddenly, a voice, which seemed to be from the underground, woke them up. Come down, little heroes, the voice crooned. Come down. The sand split beneath them, opening up a crevice straight down to the center of the earth. Their feet slipped, and darkness swallowed them. Naruto was sure Percy had already woken up because he did not see his ghostly form in this dream anymore. He, however, stayed right where he was and fell until he was floating. He looked around, but only found darkness. Well, that was until 2 evil-looking eyes and 2 rows of very sharp teeth. The fuck are you? Naruto asked. What is this, no fear?
I don't have any fear from a fucking coward. Insolence. You will fear me.
We will see, Naruto smirked as he shimmered from view. Next day Naruto awoke in his cabin after that strange dream, but he knew something, it was more than just a dream. He yawned, then started get up and dress himself. Someone knocking on the went to answer and saw that it was Grover. You are that Grover Underwood, right? He asked and the satyr nodded. Do you need some help, Grover? Grover nodded again and said nervously, Mr. D wants to see you and Percy is also with them.
Why, they want to talk you about something, said Grover.
So, they want to talk about the bolt, Naruto thought. Naruto nodded, started to walk with him and saw him nervous. He sighed. Grover the satyr blah. And said, yes, you don't have to be nervous around me, K. I don't bite, Naruto said and then smirked, unless you want me of course. The satyr relaxed and nodded. So, you are from, he was interrupted by Naruto from the elemental realm. As they walked they interacted with each other and Naruto told him about that dimension and other things. The two walked up to the front porch of the big house. Dionysus sat at the pinnacle table in his tiger-striped Hawaiian shirt with his Diet Coke, just as he had the first day. Chiron sat across the table in his fake wheelchair. They were playing against invisible opponents, 2 sets of cards hovering in the air. Well, Mr. D said, looking up at them. Our little celebrities. Thanks for welcome, Naruto said. Come closer, Mr. D said. And don't expect me to know to you mortal, just because old Barnacle Beard is your father. Then he looked toward Naruto. Same to you. A net of lightning flashed across the clouds. Thunder shook the windows of the house. Blah, 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 Dionysus said. Chiron feigned interest in his pinnacle cards. Grover cowered by the railing, his hooves clopping back and forth. If I had my way, Dionysus said, I would cause your molecules to erupt in flames. We'd sweep up the ashes and be done with a lot of trouble. But Chiron seems to feel this would be against my mission of this cursed camp. To keep your little brats safe from harm. Well, I don't need protection. I am strong enough to look out myself on my own, Naruto said. You know what I want. I want to get out of here, and want to battle with monsters. It's boring here. Mr. D smirked at his answer. Spontaneous combustion is a form of harm, Mr. D, Chiron said. Nonsense, Dionysus said. He looked toward Percy. He wouldn't feel a thing. Nevertheless, I've agreed to restrain myself. I am thinking of turning you into a dolphin instead, sending you back to your father. Mr. D, Chiron warned. Oh, all right, Dionysus relented. There's one more option. But it's deadly foolish. Dionysus rose, and the invisible player's cards dropped to the table. I am off to Olympus for the emergency meeting. If Percy is still here when I get back, I'll turn him into an Atlantic bottlenose. Do you understand? And Perseus Jackson, if you're at all smart, you'll see that's a much more sensible choice than what Chiron feels you must do. Dionysus picked up a playing card, twisted it, and it became a plastic rectangle. A security pass. He snapped his fingers. The air seemed to fold and bend around him. He became a hologram, then a wind, and then he was gone, leaving only the smell of fresh pressed grapes lingering behind. That was good, but I can do better, Naruto thought. Chiron smiled at both of them, but he looked tired and strained. Sit, Percy and Naruto, please. And Grover. They did. Chiron laid his cards on the table. Tell me, boys, he said. Do you two to know what kind of situation you are in? Yes, the Master Bolt is stolen and you want us to find it, Naruto said in deadpan. What, how do you know the Master Bolt is stolen, Naruto? Asked Chiron seriously. Dad told me when he brought me here. So, Lord Hades knows the Master Bolt is stolen. Chiron muttered and sighed. Now before anyone blame him, know that he wasn't behind the theft, said Naruto. How can you say about that, Naruto? Asked Grover. Naruto looked at Chiron. You as well as I know Chiron, my father wouldn't do such thing, and when he told me about it, I didn't feel any lies from me. Okay. Chiron nodded at his words. Wait, what's this about the Master Bolt? Asked Percy. Zeus Master Bolt. Chiron said, the symbol of his power, from which the lightning bolts are first weapon made by the Cyclops for the war against the Titans, the bolt that sheared the top of Mount Etna and hurled Kronos from his throne. The Master Bolt, which packs enough power to split the universe in pieces. Percy gulped at that. Which is stolen, Percy? Said Naruto, and someone has blamed you and me. That's just awesome, Percy said sarcastically. At least Chiron held up a hand. That's what Zeus thinks. During the winter solstice, Zeus and Poseidon had an argument. It was the usual nonsense. Mother Rhea always liked you best, air disasters are more spectacular than sea disasters, etc. Afterward, Zeus realized that his Master Bolt was missing, taken from the throne room right under his nose. He immediately blamed Poseidon. Now a god cannot usurp another god's symbol of power directly. That is most forbidden by the most ancient of divine laws. But Zeus believes your father convinced a human hero or two to have taken it. Zeus thinks he has a good reason to be suspicious. Here Naruto rolled his eyes, mentally disagreeing with him. The forges of the Cyclops are under the ocean, which gives Poseidon some influence over the makers of the lightning bolt, and is now secretly having the Cyclops build an arsenal of illegal copies, which might be used to topple Zeus from his throne. The only thing he wasn't sure about was which hero or heroes Poseidon used to steal the bolt. Now Poseidon has openly claimed you as his son. You were in New York over the winter holidays. You could have easily snuck into Olympus. Zeus believes he has found his thief. He is crazy. Of course I was in New York, that's where I live, just like the other 8 million people that inhabit the city. I've never even been to Olympus before. Any idiot could see that. Percy grumbled. Percy, Grover said nervously, we don't use those words described for the king of Olympus. Naruto said. It is impossible that either of us is the thief. I just arrived here just a week ago and Percy didn't know about the existence of the supernatural world till he was dragged. If you want to use that logic, then technically every demigod that was actually in Olympus during the holiday could be held accountable.
Chiron then shook his head. While I do agree with you on your behalf, Zeus is paranoid. Then again, Poseidon has tried to unseat Zeus before.
Zeus has never trusted Poseidon since. Of course, Poseidon denies stealing the bolt. He took great offense at the accusation. The two have been arguing back and forth for a while. And now you have come along the proverbial last straw. Naruto and Percy, Grover cut in. If you were Zeus, and you thought your brother was plotting to overthrow you, then your brother suddenly admitted he had broken the sacred oath he took after World War II, that he's fathered new mortal heroes who might be used as weapons against you. Wouldn't that put a twist in your toga? Naruto snorted. Kinda hypocritical of him to say, since he had a kid several years before Poseidon did, he said. Grover looked sheepish at that. Chiron sighed. Now neither god will back down. Unless someone intervenes, there will be war. And do you know what a full-fledged war looks like? Bad I guess, said Percy nervously. Disastrous, chaotic, and is how wars are. Naruto said. A war between two supreme gods would cause the entire universe to be destroyed. Percy was terrified just by thinking it. And you, Percy Jackson and Naruto Uzumaki, will be the first to feel Zeus' wrath, said Chiron.
It started to rain. Volleyball players stopped their game and stared in stunned silence at the sky.
Percy had a dumbstruck look on his face and Naruto was silent. I was waiting for it, Naruto thought. So we have to find the stupid bolt, Percy said, and return it to Zeus. What better peace offering, Chiron said, than to have the son of Poseidon and the son of Hades return Zeus' property? If Poseidon doesn't have it, where is the thing? Percy asked. I believe I know. Chiron's expression was grim. Part of a prophecy I had years ago. Well, some of the lines make sense to me, now. But before I can say more, you must officially take up the quest. You must seek the counsel of the oracle. Why can't you tell me where the bolt is beforehand? Because if I did, then you would be too afraid to accept the challenge. Percy swallowed. Good reason. You two agree then? Chiron said. Percy looked at Grover, who nodded encouragingly. Easy for him. Zeus doesn't want to kill him, Percy thought. All right, he said. It's better than being turned into a dolphin. All of them looked toward Naruto. I had already said yes, Naruto said. One of you go and consult the oracle, Chiron said. I will go. Naruto said. You sure? Percy asked and Naruto nodded. Go upstairs to the attic. When you come back down, we will talk more, Chiron said. Upstairs, Naruto went up 4 floors that ended under a green trapdoor. Naruto pulled the cord and it swung open to reveal a ladder. The warm air above smelled like mildew and rotten wood and something else, something reptilian. The attic was filled with Greek hero junk. Armor stands covered in cobwebs. Once bright shields pitted with rust. Old leather steamer trunks plastered with stickers saying ITHAKA, CIRCES Isle, and Land of the Amazons. One long table was stacked with glass jars filled with pickled things, severed hairy claws, huge yellow eyes, various other parts of monsters. A dusty mounted trophy on the wall looked like a giant snakehead, but with horns and teeth. The plaque read, Hydra Head No. 1, WOODSTICK, NY, 1969. By the window, sitting on a wooden tripod stool, was the most gruesome memento of all, a mummy. There was a tie-dyed sundress on it, with lots of beaded necklaces, the hippie kind, and a headband over long black hair. She looked shriveled and dried up. Her eyes were glassy white, like marble slits. Then, a green mist poured out of the mummy's mouth, coiling over the floor in thick tendrils. The mist hissed like thousands of snakes. A voice hissed in his head. I am the spirit of Delphi, speaker of the prophecies of Phoebus Apollo, slayer of the mighty Python. Approach, seeker, and ask. Naruto took a deep breath and asked, what am I supposed to do? The mist swirled more thickly, collecting right in front of him. It took the shape of 5 people that Naruto cared. The mist took the shape of Tsunade, Kushina, Gaara, Sasuke and Kurama. Naruto would have cried seeing his mother again if he didn't know she was an illusion. Kushina turned towards him and spoke in the raspy voice of the oracle. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. Tsunade said in a raspy voice, you shall find what is stolen, and see it safely returned. Sasuke said in the same voice, you shall expose the traitor masquerading as a friend. Gaara spoke next, the son of the underworld shall meet his future and learn of the truth. Kurama gave the final line, and you will save what matters you the most in the end. The figures began to dissolve and the tail of the mist retreated into the mummy's mouth. Then she returned back into her original position, leaving Naruto alone. His audience with the oracle was over. Back with Kirin. Well? Kirin asked. He slumped into a chair at the pinnacle table. She said I would retrieve what was stolen, Naruto said. Grover sat forward, chewing excitedly on the remains of a Diet Coke can. That's great. What did the oracle say exactly? Kirin pressed. This is important. He said, she said I would go west and face a god who had turned. I would retrieve what was stolen and see it safely returned. I knew it, Grover said. Kirin didn't look satisfied. Anything else? She also mentioned something about exposing a traitor masquerading as a friend and saving what matters most for me in the end. Still not sure what last one means, Naruto said. Kirin nodded, but still looked troubled. Naruto was unsure why. Kirin then spoke, very well. But know this. The oracle's words often have double meanings. Don't dwell on them too much. The truth is not always clear until events come to pass. Okay, Percy said, anxious to change topics. So where do we go? Who's this god in the west? It's my father, Hades. Naruto said, but it could be another god. A fury came after Percy, Kirin reminded. She watched the young man until she was sure of his identity. Furies obey only one lord, Hades. Wow, so Naruto's father tried to get me killed, said Percy dryly. Naruto interjected, Percy, actually Dad sent her to investigate if you were the thief or not. She was only there to observe you. The threatening was just to scare you, not to kill you. But he Minotaur was sent by Zeus and not by my father. This was a surprise to everyone. What about my mother then? Percy asked Naruto, anxiously, and gulped. Dad mentioned about immortal women. He must be your mother. My guess she must be back in her home. Percy looked happy and content with mother alive and okay. Thank Hades and Naruto. Going to Hades might take you to your real destination and could find the real thief, Naruto, said Kirin, and Naruto nodded at that. It could reveal him who is the deity that had turned. So let me get this straight, Percy said. We're supposed to go to west. The underworld might be a possibility and confront the god who has turned. Check, Kirin stated. Find one of the most powerful weapon in the universe. Check. Naruto said with a gleam in his eye. And get it back to Olympus before the summer solstice, in 14 days. That's about right. Kirin said. Did I mention that Maine is very nice this time of year? Grover asked weakly. You don't have to go, Percy told him. I can't ask that of you. He took a deep breath, then stood, brushing the shredded cards and aluminum bits off his t-shirt. You saved my life. If you're serious about wanting me along, I won't let you down. That made both of the boys smile, Percy because he wanted another friend with them and Naruto because he was proud of the satyr. Me too, buddy. Percy said and then turned to Kirin. So, where is Hades in the west? The underworld of the Greek pantheon is in Los Angeles, Percy, said Naruto to Percy for Kirin. Whoa, I am Poseidon's son and Zeus is pissed at me, so, I could assume that I can't travel in air, said Percy while they nodded. Just great, Kirin said. 3 companions may accompany you as one. The other has already volunteered, if you will accept her help. Naruto narrowed his eyes when he saw the slight nervous face Kirin made when talking about the volunteering person. Grover and Percy were also wondering who has volunteered for this quest. Feeling someone tap his shoulder, Naruto turned and come face to face with beautiful girl around his age. The girl had blonde hair tied in a ponytail, sky blue eyes, was dressed in the camp orange shirt that looked a bit big on her, with black jeans and white chucks. Percy and Grover didn't even saw her when she arrived. They blushed when they saw her. "Hey," she said with a charming smile, her eyes looking directly into his. I would like to join you guys on your quest." "Really?" Naruto asked with raised brow. "And you are?" The girl blushed at forgetting to introduce herself. "Alright. My name is Esme. Esme Venusa." Naruto smiled. "Nice to meet you, Esme." Naruto held out his hand and the girl took it. "I am Naruto Uzumaki, hope we get to know each other better." Esme gave him a smile of her own. "Yeah, me too. I haven't seen in the camp." "Well, I am one of those campers who lives in human world on our asked me for my help and I agreed. Isn't that right, Chiron?" "Yes, that's true," Chiron replied and nodded while swallowing. "Oh," said Naruto with a came close to him and whispered in his ears, though mostly it is because of. He smirked thanks they heard coughing from Chiron to get their attention and stop their flirting. Yes. Esme, meet my friends Percy Jackson and Grover Underwood." "Hello, hi, hello. I am Esme Venusa. Nice to meet, we get along," she said with a smile while the two boys were barely able to look anywhere than her. Same. Me okay, so we have me, Esme, Percy and Grover. We need one more for the quest," said Naruto. Who to choose?" "Oh. I get it. We will take Annabeth. She will be useful for our quest. She is intelligent and knows important information." Chiron nodded in support. "She will be also very helpful to you." "Annabeth it is then. Now everyone go and rest. He have an important quest to do and stop a war," said Naruto. Things were getting with the introduction of this Esme Venusa. Naruto had to admit she was beautiful and attractive. But she came out of nowhere and there's something more about her which he will uncover. Naruto held his chin in thought as he waited for his mind was coming up with ways to combat all threats they might encounter. It's his first quest and he was excited to complete it.
While he was waiting, Luke came to greet him and told to kill some monsters from. He also offered Naruto his mystical shoes but he declined politely for 2. He could sense some negative tea from the shoes and 2. He doesn't need his magical shoes.
Before he left, Esme came. Luke was surprised to see an unknown camper. He introduced her to Luke. Currently they are waiting for their teammates to leave for their quest as their teammates were talking to Chiron. "You look tense." Next to him Esme stood. "Yeah," he answered. "I'll be fighting unknown enemies. As a ninja, having no information about your mission or quest is quite dangerous." They seem to be fine with it. Esme pointed at the trio, plus Chiron. "Yes, well, they haven't been to any mission especially of this caliber, not yet," he said. "Looks like they have a visitor." Luke came again running up the hill with a box. "Makes you wish you had someone to say goodbye to you, huh?" Esme said with a chuckle. Naruto looked at the girl. "You seem more confident than yesterday," he said with a raised brow. Esme blushed and turned away. "Well, I feel more comfortable around you now," she said. "Speaking of goodbyes, I should hide now," Naruto said as he turned and begun walking towards the woods. She blinked as soon as she saw it. A horde of girls coming straight towards them. As Naruto was walking away she grabbed him by his shirt. "Oh no you don't." "Hey wait don't." Before he could finish the horde had already swallowed them whole. "You promised to come back Naruto, right? Bring something nice." First it was his cousins and nieces. Some cried saying he was going to die while others called him cool. After a number of promises he managed to pull himself out of that wall. Only to fall in an even deeper hole, his Barbie dolls. They all jumped him, saying how much they love him and also, groping him. Little perverts. After kisses, hugs and promises of marriage he was set turned to Esme as he cracked his neck. "Someone's famous," Esme said with a smirk as Naruto stood next to her. "No thanks to you. I have no idea what you were talking about." She turned away with a smirk. Naruto's eye twitched. What the hell up is with this chick? The two remained silent as they watched Luke walk away after giving Percy a pair of flying shoes. "That's like giving someone poison and saying sorry you forgot it was poison," Esme muttered to herself though Naruto heard. "That demigod." "Ah, so you also noticed?" Naruto said with a smile, She jumped at the sound of his voice. He's up to something. Or we could be reading too deep into things. I was waiting for someone to point it out. But Luke is dangerous. Ever since I came here, I knew something was off about him. Naruto said as his violet eyes narrowed. Are you always this paranoid? Esme asked with a raised brow. Or do you just hate his guts? Don't get me wrong, I hate his guts. But when you were trained to be a ninja, you learn a lot of things. His eyes turned to her. Like you, I am guessing you're a spy of some sort. Esme gave him a blank look. A spy like in the films? She asked. Not exactly but close, Naruto said, but I am not worried. It looks like it's me after. You seriously think I am a spy? The blonde-haired girl smiled. You get more interesting by the minute, Mr. Uzumaki. Not a spy per se, but you want something from me, he said as he watched Annabeth, Grover, Percy and a blonde guy with eyes all over his body. That much I can tell. Esme smiled. Are you really a child of Hades? You act more like a child of Athena. Naruto shrugged. You'll find out during your little spy mission. Esme grinned as she took a step closer to him. Her hands held together behind her back as she leaned in. I have not had this much fun in long time. Glad I could to help, Naruto replied as the two stared at each other. Two stared at each, none of them backing down. Can we leave for the quest now? Naruto and Esme broke eye contact as they turned to the voice. Annabeth was looking at them with amusement. Annabeth meet Esme, Esme meet Annabeth. They both looked at one another and nodded. A little bit interaction was there. I'll be in the car, she said with Percy and Grover following suit. Shall we? Naruto asked as held out his hand for her. With pleasure, Esme answered as she took his hand. Esme groaned as she rubbed her aching head. Do you really have to argue like a bunch of brats in such important quest? She hissed. They are currently been escorted to a nearby bus stop in an average van. Naruto sat in the front while she sat in the back with the goat of a boy and an arguing do. So what if your parents hate each other? Does that mean you must repeat history? Naruto from his place in the front chuckled. Sucks to be you, he said. Hush you. Naruto then turned to the smiling driver. So you have eyes everywhere? Argus nodded. I see, so do you like have some down there? Cause it'd be cool to see the inside of a. Esme laughed at that while the other three blushed at what Naruto said. Naruto, you perv. After a while the group got into the city, but due to traffic they got held up. By the time they got to Manhattan, it was now sunset and began to rain slightly. They eventually reached their destination and the group of 5 unloaded out the van at Greyhound Station on the Upper East Side. Once that was done, Argus was off and the group waited in silence. Naruto, who seated next to Esme, stared off into the distance. You should be grateful, Percy. He heard Grover say. Your stepfather smells so repulsively human he could mask the presence of any demigod. As soon as I took a whiff inside his Camaro, I knew. Gabe has been covering your scent for years. If you hadn't lived with him every summer, you probably would have been found by monsters a long time ago. Your mom stayed with him to protect you. Your mom is a great woman, Percy. Never ever forget that. People like your mom don't come around often. You don't know how lucky you were to have a childhood with your parent. Percy stayed silent as he clenched his fist. His mother was an angel sent from mother, stayed and endured the abuse from Gabe just for him. Percy, we will recover the bolt and stop the stupid war, Naruto said, then you can go back to your mother. Percy blinked his eyes and then smiled. Thanks, Naruto. Oh, Esme smirked. Bold statement, Naruto. Thanks, Naruto answered. Also, I have a question. If this bolt was such a big deal, can't the owner make another one? Esme remained silent for a long time before she burst out laughing. Haha, you are a very interesting man, Naruto Uzumaki, she said. Aim to please, Naruto said, a bit confused. After a while the kids begun playing with an apple while Esme and Naruto watched them in silence. Though the game ended when Grover ate the apple. Soon the bus arrived and they went into the bus. The bus pulled out of the station, and they headed through the slick streets of Manhattan. They reached Lincoln Tunnel, and the bus went dark except for the running lights down the aisle. It was eerily quiet without the sound of the rain. You know, something tells me if Naruto wasn't with us we would have been attacked by now, said Percy. Naruto and Esme chuckles at his words while Grover was nervous and Annabeth just muttered idiot and seaweed. The bus finally passed the tunnel. The driver while driving saw a car coming towards and instantly rotated the wheel and jerked it to the left. This caused everyone to howl as they were thrown to the right. What the fuck? A passenger yelled, what is going on? Damn, Naruto muttered as he and Esme hold on to each other. Many people were tossed around the bus, cars plowed aside like bowling pins. Somehow the driver found an exit. They shot off the highway, through half a dozen traffic lights, and ended up barreling down one of those New Jersey rural roads. There were woods to left, the Hudson River to the right, and the driver seemed to be veering toward the river. With another great idea, the bus driver hit the emergency brake. The bus wailed, spun a full circle on the wet asphalt, and crashed into the trees. The emergency lights came on. The door flew open. The bus driver was the first one out, the passengers yelling as they stampeded after him. Let's go, Naruto said as everyone instantly came out from the bus. You really have to open your mouth, don't you, seaweed brain, said Annabeth annoyed. Sorry, wise girl, apologized Percy, and Grover was happy that nothing happened to him and them. What a drag, and here I thought the quest was going smoothly, Naruto muttered to himself, but Esme heard him and giggled. Well, it's good nothing bad happened aside from what we experienced just a minute. Boom. The windows of the bus exploded as the passengers ran for cover. They turned towards Percy and deadpanned. Let's go, Naruto said. We don't want more problem than we already have. Then he disappeared with Esme, Annabeth, Percy and Grover from there. It was deathly silent as the group walked along the Jersey riverbank shore which went through the forest they were hiking in. Annabeth, Grover and Percy walked in front while the two adults stayed behind. Esme looked to the side and saw Naruto smiling slightly. Hummed Esme. They seem more tense now, she pointed at the teens in front of them. Yep, they are realizing how dangerous this quest really is, Naruto said with a frown. Esme nodded. So Naruto, tell me about your childhood, she said. What was it like? Naruto was a little uncomfortable and looked up a bit as thought things through. She looked at his uncomfortable face. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. It's okay. Just promise me not tell others, until I say so, said Naruto. Esme nodded. One explanation later, Esme was horrified to learn about his childhood and couldn't believe how those fools could do this to a child. She hugged him. Naruto could feel warmth from her, which he felt nice. It feels nice to have someone who actually care for you, Naruto thought. Hey, don't BS in the past. I have left that life the moment my father bring me here, Naruto said while still hugging. They are fucking blind idiots, she said as they broke their hug and started to move in silence. Esme's face darkened. If I ever met those fools, I will make every one of them pay who had wronged you, Naruto, while she continued to walk alongside him. Few hours have passed as they were walking, tripping over and walking into trees. Eventually they found themselves staring at a neon light sign just up ahead of them. I smell junk food. Grover pointed forward. They walked closer and by now all could smell it. Through the trees they found themselves stopping at a two-laned road. On the other side was a closed-down gas station, a tattered billboard for the 90s film Jurassic Park and one open for business. Which was the source of the neon light and the greasy fat food smell. I honestly doubt people come here, Naruto said as they stared at the building with neon sign. They walked up to it and saw that it was not a fast food restaurant. Must be road shop, wonder what they sell, Naruto said to Esme. He noticed that her grip tightened on him. Hey, you okay? Just getting some weird vibes from the place is all. Should I warn them? Tell them that a monster lives here. But they'll ask how I know. In her head she was panicking. Really? We better just pass it by then, Naruto said. If you say so, Naruto, Annabeth said, only for a stomach to protest, loudly. Food. Percy was openly drooling as they got closer. The main building was a long warehouse, surrounded by acres of statuary. The neon sign was red in color and was in cursive English. What does it say? Percy asked with blush of embarrassment. I can't read it. He looked to Annabeth and she shrugged. To me it looks like ATNYUMESGDERAN Gomen MEPROUIM. Annabeth said as Naruto walked past them. Probably to get a better read. It says Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium, he said as Grover nodded. That's what it says. Oh look, the lights are on. Somebody must be home. Percy said as Grover nodded. We should see if they'll give us a hand. I think they might have a snack bar. Well, let's go then, Annabeth said as they walked. I don't know you guys, this place looks a little weird, Grover said as he nervously gulped. Behind him, Naruto's eyes didn't like this place, and from camp he learned that satyrs or guardians are protectors of demigods. So if their guardian was feeling nervous about this place, then perhaps it was best they leave. Hey, maybe we should. Annabeth and Percy had already gone ahead with Grover following slowly behind. Fuck. They headed over and the first thing they saw was all the stone statues. The front lot was pretty much just a forest of statues. Cement animals, cement children, even a cement satyr playing the pipes, which gave Grover the creeps. The place was just odd, and by the looks of it no one visited in a while. Blah ha ha. Grover said excitedly as he began to examine the statue before he bleated. This looks like my Uncle Ferdinand. That is so weird, he said, examining it carefully. It does look pretty detailed. Whoever made it must be pretty skilled. When they finished looking at the statue, the group went to the front door. Do we just knock? Percy asked, getting a shrug from Annabeth. I don't know, but I really don't trust this place. Something about this place is just off. Let's try somewhere else, Grover asked, with Naruto and Esme agreeing. But they guessed Percy and Annabeth's hunger was getting the better of them. All I smell is burgers. Aren't you hungry? Percy said, looking at Grover. Meat. He said scornfully. I am a vegetarian. When have you ever seen me eat meat?
You eat cheese enchiladas and aluminium cans, Percy reminded him. Grover would have retorted, but the door in front of them suddenly creaked open. When the door was fully open, standing in front of them was a tall Middle Eastern woman. She was wearing a long black gown that covered everything but her hands, and her head was completely veiled. She had coffee-colored hands that looked old, but they were well manicured and elegant. By looking at her, perhaps she had been some sort of model, and getting old was not something she enjoyed due to the fact that she was completely covered up. Children, it is too late to be out all alone. Where are your parents? She asked with a very thick accent. Listening to her accent, Annabeth thought she might have been from the Middle East. Naruto instantly stepped up. Sup lady, how you living? We hungry as fucking and are here to eat, so you gonna let us in? Annabeth, Percy and Grover stared at Naruto with wide eyes and gaping mouths. Really, starving children? The woman gasped dramatically. Oh, my dears, come in, poor hungry children. I am Auntie M. Go straight through to the back of the warehouse, please. There is a dining area. The two kids sighed in relief and Naruto's frown deepened. They most definitely should have been sent away or at least yelled at for being rude. But no, the woman laughed it off. She almost seemed eager to let them in. Naruto, what the hell? Hissed Annabeth angrily. Naruto said nothing as they walked through warehouse. They all saw that it was filled with more statues. People in all different poses, wearing all different outfits and with different expressions on their faces. What was off-putting was that many of them looked like they had scared faces, plus the eyes of the statues just looked like they were following them. Eventually they arrived at the back of the warehouse to see a room with a dining table with some chairs around it. They saw that there was a fast food counter with a grill, a soda fountain, a pretzel heater, and a nacho cheese dispenser. Everything that you could want was there, and it was all theirs. Please take a seat, my dears, she said, gesturing to the chairs at the table. Grover said reluctantly. How much money would it cost, ma'am? No, children. No money. This is a special case, yes. It is my treat, for such nice children. Thank you, ma'am, Annabeth said before Auntie M whipped her head around to look at her. When she did, Naruto saw a quick look of anger cross her face before she managed to get back under control. Naruto wasn't sure if anyone else noticed it, but it was a little off-putting. Quite all right, Annabeth, she said. You have such beautiful gray eyes, child. She then turned to look at Naruto. You young man are very handsome. Naruto helped Esme down on a seat. Thanks. Auntie M then went behind the snack counter and started cooking. While she was away, Naruto sprang into action. Come Peter and Gore. We must go and see that statue of man looking like he's having an orgasm, he said loudly as he grabbed Percy and Grover by the back of their shirts and dragged them out of the chairs. See, look at his face. Like some bitch is sucking his soul out. Naruto randomly pointed at statue with a horrified look on its face. He then wrapped his arms around the two boys and brought them in. Gore, he whispered to Grover, but Percy could also hear. Your Uncle Ferdinand, did he really look like that statue? Confused Grover nodded slowly. Yeah, he did, he answered in whisper.
I saw you examine the statue. Was it exactly what a satyr should look like? Were any details missed? Naruto asked quickly. And now that I think about it, it was pretty accurate. Percy finally caught on. Grover, what happened to your Uncle Ferdinand? He asked in a harsh whisper. Oh, he was killed by the monster med. Grover covered his mouth in realization. The three paused as it finally sank in. Every single statue looks like it saw something horrific, Naruto muttered. And there isn't a goddamn gnome in sight. And there are hundreds of them, Percy added, his face paled. Okay, listen up, oh man, this statue is so lifelike I bait her to get in close and I'll pin her. Then Percy, you go in for the kill. Take out your pen under the table to be ready. Grover, act as normal as you can. And make sure you're not seated too close to the table, you need leg room for you to jump into action, got it? The boys nodded.
Naruto, Grover and Percy, your food is ready. The lady called as they all stiffened.
We didn't even introduce ourselves. I've been calling you Peter and Gore, Naruto muttered as the boys turned. They walked towards the table. Auntie M set the trays of food on the table. The boys were hesitant to eat, and when Annabeth tried to eat a fry, Naruto stopped her hand underneath the table. She was about to ask what was wrong when Esme grabbed the fry from her plate and ate it. It's really good. Dig in, guys, she said. Sorry about that, Sandra, Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his neck. We forgot say grace, didn't we, guys? Yeah, grace. Praise God. They ate their food slowly. Though he was really hungry, Percy stayed vigilant. He was waiting for his time to strike. But things changed as Auntie M sat on the opposite side of the table. Her fingers interlaced as she stared at Percy. Hey, Auntie, this food is fucking delicious. Naruto yelled as put on his best smile. The stare she was giving Percy was unnerving. Never charmed a monster lady before, should be interesting. Oh my, thank you, she said. You know you can make a fine wife. Oh my, I am flattered, she said with a giggle. You know I would ask you out, but I am ugly and someone as beautiful as you wouldn't want me. Naruto said sadly, playing with his fries as he pouted. Oh dear, you're so beautiful. But the girls I ask out say I am too ugly. Don't listen to them, young man. You are very handsome, the woman declared passionately. Really? Then come over here and prove it, Naruto said as he stood from his chair and moved to the side. A woman as beautiful as you telling me I am handsome is just some dream.
Then what do you want me to do? Auntie M asked, confused, as she moved off her chair and stood in front of Naruto. He was few inches taller than her.
Touch me as I touch you, Naruto said with a foxy grin. If you say so, my dear, she said as her wrinkled rough hands went to his cheeks. Sorry, my hands are a bit rough from all the sculpting. No problem, you gorgeous MILF. Naruto's hands instantly went to her bum, giving them a firm squeeze. Your body is perfect. Oh, you. She laughed as Naruto played with ass. Meanwhile, that nacho cheese sure looks delicious, Percy said blankly as got out of his chair. Quietly he made his toward the nacho cheese dispenser, next where Naruto was. Pen in hand, Percy slowly got into a stance. This ass is beautiful, Naruto purred as Auntie M giggled.
You like my ass, don't ya? In my prime even gods came down just to get a glimpse of it. Those were her last words.
Percy sprang into action with a silent battle cry. He moved. Swinged his hand, he felt his pen get slightly heavy as it turned into his sword. Everything was in slow motion as Auntie M slowly begun to fall, sword Anaclesmos meeting her neck as its sliced head fell with a thud along with the body. I really hope she was not some super nice but weird lady that we just beheaded, Percy said as he caught his breath. Celestial bronze doesn't work on normal people, it just passes right through them, Naruto said as they stared at the head, the body having turned into a golden dust. I'll be back. Naruto, Annabeth called after him. What are you? Naruto searched the back of the warehouse until he found Medusa's office. Her account book showed her 6 most recent sales, all shipments to the underworld to decorate Hades and Persephone's garden. According to one freight bill, the underworld's billing address was DOA Recording Studios, West Hollywood, California. He folded up the bill. Greek underworld's address, Esme said, who appeared behind him.
Yes, Naruto said and stuffed address in his pocket.
Upon coming back, they found Percy writing something on a taped-up cardboard box. Upon closer inspection, it was the Gods Mount Olympus 600th floor, Empire State Building. New York, New York, with best wishes, Percy, Jackson, Naruto and Esme just laughed while Annabeth looked shocked and Grover looked like he was going to faint. Percy, they are not going to like that. They will take it as an insult, Grover said, hoping to change his mind. Next time they won't be careless as to lose their most powerful weapon, he growled. And send kids to find it for them. Naruto said that too. Percy yelled. So how do I? The box glowed and vanished in an instant. Where did it go? Since it's addressed to the gods, Hermes probably collected it. It is his job as the god of messengers after all, so the gods will probably get it soon, no doubt. Esme answered.
Okay. Percy nodded. Now that's taken care of, you three come here. The trio Annabeth, Percy and Grover now stood in front Naruto. You damn foolish brats. Naruto's hands instantly went to Annabeth and Percy's heads, his fingers digging into the scalps painfully.
I'll go to find important stuffs, Esme said from the side as she went to the cooking area. Naruto. Annabeth cried as she tried removing his grip but failed. Ow. Why? Percy asked as he too tried to remove the hand. Annabeth, said girl instantly stopped her struggle. To quote a conversation you and Percy had. At camp all you do is train and train, but the real world is where the monster are at. This is the real world and we encountered a real fucking monster. That I killed by pure luck. If Medusa wanted she would have killed you the moment she set her eyes on. But for some stupid reason all she did was feed us. And you two idiots didn't even notice that something was off. Naruto said with a scowl on his face. What do you want from us? Demigods can't sense monsters, Percy yelled angrily. That's true, but we have someone that fucking can. Naruto growled and forcefully turned their heads to Grover, who jumped at the stare. Grover has a strong sense of smell because he is a satyr. Satyrs are able to tell when monsters, demigods, minor gods to an extent, or other creatures when they are nearby, Naruto said as Annabeth's eyes were widened in realization. Of course, the moment we got here Esme and Grover had expressed their discomfort multiple times, but all you brats thought of was staffing your faces. Naruto's grip tightened. So the next time the guy who can sense monsters says he feels nervous about a place, we hear him out, got it? Yes, Captain. Yes, sir. Good, he said as he let them go and looked at Grover. And you, Grover, don't doubt yourself. If you feel we are walking into a trap, then spit it out. Why, yes, sir. Good, now go help Esme with picking anything we might need. An hour of walking and it was decided that they needed a camped out in the woods, 100 yards from the main road, in a marshy clearing that local kids had obviously been used for ground was littered with flattened soda cans and fast food wrappers. This place is a dump, she muttered to herself as she looked around. Humans were many times place looked like it held a great many picnics, parties, and nobody cleaned up afterwards. There was garbages everywhere. Naruto, along with Grover, went to check the surrounding area while Esme pulled out 4 blankets from her backpack. One for Annabeth, one for Percy, one for Grover, and the last one for her and Naruto. Well, this probably not the best place to camp out, Percy said. Grover said it's okay, Percy. We have some food and blankets. And we don't have any option, Annabeth said. Alright, I only have 4 blankets with me, that's all she could fit in her bag. Grover and Percy will share these, she tossed 2 blankets to Percy. The boy caught them and nodded his thanks. Annabeth, this one is yours, she tossed one to the blonde. I guess I'll have to share with Naruto, she said innocently. Wait, what? Listen here, Esme said as she stared down at them. These blankets are not as thick, only meant for one person, and if 2 or more people use this they won't be as effective. I can take the cold and so can Naruto. Our main concern is to survive and find the bolt. They nodded in understanding. 30 minutes later Naruto and Grover returned. Well everyone, we can sleep in peace without any fear for monsters. I had setted traps and had investigate the area, Naruto said. Great, Percy said. All right, we should be safe for the night, Naruto said as unloaded his backpack. Let's all dinner before we fast. He then pulled out 2 loaves of sliced bread, a jar of jam and 5 small cans of soda. They all sat in a cycle while they ate their bread in silence. Grover, while sitting beside Percy, broke the silence. It makes me sad, Percy. What does? The fact that you signed up for this quest? Percy asked. No, this makes me sad. Grover pointed at all the garbage on the ground. And the sky. You can't even see the stars. They've polluted the sky. This is a terrible time to be a satyr. Oh, yeah. I guess you'd be an environmentalist. Grover glared at him. Only a human wouldn't be. Your species are clogging up the world so fast. Ah, never mind. Esme and Naruto laughed. It's useless to lecture a human. At the rate things are going, I'll never find Pan. Pam? Like the cooking spray? Annabeth just facepalmed. Percy, he means Pan, P-A-N, Greek god of the nature, wild, shepherds and flocks, rustic music and impromptus, and companion of the nymphs. Naruto said. Yeah, him. That is why I need to get a searcher's license. That way, I will be able to search for him, like my dad and Uncle Ferdinand, Grover said. A strange breeze rustled through the clearing, temporarily overpowering the stink of trash and muck. It brought the smell of berries and wildflowers and clean rainwater, things that might be once been in these. Naruto and Esme narrowed their eyes as they felt some nature energy but didn't say anything. Suddenly Percy was nostalgic for something he had never known. Tell me about the search, he said. Grover looked at Percy cautiously, as if he were afraid he was just making fun. Greek god Pan disappeared 2,000 years ago, Grover said to them. A sailor off the coast of Ephesus heard a mysterious voice crying out from the shore, tell them that the great god Pan has died. When humans heard the news, they believed it. They've been pillaging Pan's kingdom ever since. But for the satyrs, Pan was our lord and master. He protected us in the wild places of the earth. We refuse to believe that he died. In every generation, the bravest satyrs pledge their lives to finding Pan. They search the earth, exploring all the wildest places, hoping to find where he is hidden, and wake him from his sleep. They remained silent as Grover explained. And you want to be a searcher? Naruto asked. It's my life's dream, Grover said. My father was a searcher. And my Uncle Ferdinand, the statue you saw back there. Oh, right, sorry. Grover shook his head. Uncle Ferdinand knew the risks. So did my dad. But I'll succeed. I'll be the first searcher to return alive. Hang on. The first? Esme told them for Grover no searcher has ever come back, Percy. Once they set out, they disappear. They're never seen alive again. Not once in 2,000 years. No, and your dad? You have no idea what happened to him? Percy asked to Grover. None. But you still want to go, Percy said, amazed. I mean, you really think you'll be the one to find Pan? I have to believe Searcher does. It's the only thing that keeps us from despair when we look at what humans have done to the world. I have to believe Pan can still be awakened. Annabeth smiled at her friend. You are the most bravest satyr I had ever seen, Grover said. Esme and Naruto nodded, which made him blush. Thanks. Percy stared at the orange haze of the sky and tried to understand how Grover could pursue a dream that seemed so hopeless. They had finished their dinner and decided to call it a night. Naruto was looking at the sky and stars while sitting close to a nearby tree. Esme decided to keep him company.
Hey, she said as she unfolded the blanket and wrapped it around them both.
Hey yourself, Naruto said with a smile as she snuggled into him. Used to the cold? You could say that, Esme said with a smile. Said smile turned frown when she saw Naruto's face. What troubles you? I just feel sorry for Madoka after what she been through. I can relate to her a lot, said Naruto with a sad smile. Hey, don't beat yourself, it's none of your fault, Esme soothed, her hand going to his back and rubbing it. After a silent moment he looked into her eyes. You know, Esme, Naruto said, I like you. She blinked as her brain processed what the albino had just said. What? Naruto just laughed at the response and Esme blushed in embarrassment. Don't tease me like that, she pouted. No, it's serious. Naruto's smile turned sad and Esme hated the look on him. It hasn't been long since we met, but I feel attracted towards you. We just kinda click with each other. Esme smiles at his words. Naruto, I feel the same way. Never in my life have I enjoyed this much. Someone who I don't want to see as a friend. But rather, since the two were facing each other, Esme leaned in. A lover. As their lips met with each other. The kiss went on for 2 minutes and gasped. Naruto wrapped his hand around her waist and brought her close to him. She leaned into his chest. Esme soon enough fell. Albino didn't mind. In fact, he welcomed it. He wrapped his hands around her and held her. The cold night didn't bother him, it was nice having her with him. He is definitely going to ask her for a date after they finish their quest. This was his last thought before he fell asleep. Percy stood in a dark cavern before a gaping pit. Gray mist creatures churned all around him, whispering rags of smoke that he somehow knew were the spirits of the dead. They tugged at his clothes, trying to pull him back, but he felt compelled to walk forward to the very edge of the chasm. The pit yawned so wide and was so completely black. Percy knew it must be bottomless. Yet he had a feeling that something was trying to rise from the abyss, something huge and evil. The little hero, an amused voice echoed far down in the darkness. Too weak, too young, but perhaps you will do. The voice was ancient, cold and heavy. It wrapped around Percy like sheets of lead. They have misled you, boy, it said. Barter with me. I will give you what you want. Percy tried to cry out, but his voice wouldn't work. Cold laughter echoed from the chasm. An invisible force pulled him forward. Help me rise, boy. The voice became hungrier. Bring me the bolt. Strike a blow against the treacherous go. That's enough. A familiar voice shouted. Suddenly the whole world turned red and with a flock of crows Naruto appeared front of Percy. Last time what I told you, Naruto said. You are not welcomed, Gramso Bits. You disrespectful child. I will, Naruto said with a grin. Fuck off. He sent shockwave everywhere. What is this, Naruto? He asked. Percy, someone is trying to manipulate you, Naruto said. We can talk about it later. Next day Percy felt someone was shaking him. His eyes opened, and it was daylight. Well, Annabeth said, the zombie lives. Percy was trembling from the dream. How long was I asleep? Long enough for me to cook breakfast. Esme tossed him a bag of nacho-flavored corn chips from Auntie M's snack bar. Percy, eat your breakfast and get ready, Naruto. 1 hour later.
They have already eaten and made themselves ready to continue their quest.
Grover, who was next to Percy, suddenly stiffened and began looking around. He then proceeded to sniff around, his eyes going wide in horror with instantly turned to Naruto. Said Albino stopped smiling. Grover, Esme, Naruto said as his eyes narrowed. Which way? I don't know. The monster's scent is so strong it's everywhere. Grover answered as he looked around, but Esme understood which type of monster was coming. All I know is that it's a very powerful monster. Okay, let's move. Naruto said as the group nodded and they ran for the main road. As they ran, Naruto noticed something that made him pause. Where is everybody? Naruto, come on. Annabeth grabbed him by the hand and begun dragging him. It's probably the mist. Drove everyone away. Pretty convenient of it. Naruto muttered as his eyes darted around. Are there monsters powerful enough to manipulate the mist? Not that I know of. Annabeth answered. That's just great, Percy said. We really can't catch a break, can we? Esme spotted the monster. Everybody move faster and don't look behind. What? Annabeth yelled as she tried to look. What did I just say? Esme yelled. Sorry, I can't help it. It's in my nature to be curious. Annabeth said, a bit embarrassed. Holy mother of ramen, Naruto said as he had looked behind. Naruto, really? Esme yelled. Just a bit and we will reach the main road, said Percy as he saw pointed at the road. Just a bit more, screamed Grover. Naruto looked back and his eyes widened in horror. The monster cat was faster than its size should allow. It was literally a meter apart from them. That thing was going to catch up to them in a single pounce. Yanking his hand from Esme, Naruto flicked his wrist and in a flash Yamato appeared in his hand. But it was too late, the creature had pounced and was right in front of Naruto. The albino didn't have time to react offensively, all he could do was block. The thing crushed head straight into Naruto, sending him and everyone else flying. While everyone hit the ground painfully, Naruto had corrected himself mid-air and landed on his feet. The kids got up and came face to face with the Nemean lion. Oh gods! Annabeth whispered as she trembled before the powerful monster. The Nemean lion, Grover managed out as the beast turned gazed at him. It then growled in anger, making the satyr whimper. So what now? Percy asked, not taking his eyes off the monster for 1 second. When the monster's gaze went towards the Esme, it trembled with fear. It understood who she was. Yar yar days, Naruto said as he took the advantage of the lion's stunned moment and went towards him. He had read about the Nemean lion, and to defeat it one must have massive doubt even Tsunade would be able to scratch him one bit. Naruto went into his 6 paths sage mode with his eyes turned into a golden slitted one. Esme could felt very large amount of nature energy dwelling within Naruto. Naruto punched the monster cat into the ground, making a massive crater. The lion roared and rushed towards him with Naruto forming a blue orb on his slitted below it and jumped at it and launched his attack. Naruto shouted Senpo, Rasengan. The monster got thrown away and fell on multiple trees. Taju Kage Bunshin Jutsu and multiple Narutos formed to their surprise and awe. Let's go. Yes, boss. Multiple chains from Naruto came and grabbed the monster and were holded by a lot of Narutos. The monster roared as it was trying to hop up and down, and break the chains. Several of his clones started to puff out. The original one held Yamato in his hand. It's time to end this. Judgment Cut Naruto announced he slides back and slashes so quickly that he appears to only unsheath and resheath Yamato. A cone-shaped distortion protrudes outward from Naruto, and within that distortion forms a dark black orb that causes a more intense visual distortion that is then covered in slashes. The Nemean lion, to the watcher's surprise, was cutted in pieces and then turned into golden dusts. Fucking awesome. Percy yelled in awe. Grover, did you see that? Said Annabeth. Yes, even Esme was surprised by him but then shook her head. He was Naruto. He was unpredictable. Naruto went towards him as he was bombarded by a lot of questions. What was that sword, Naruto? Asked Annabeth. The sword is Yamato. She was given to me by my father. Damn, Percy said in awe. You defeated the Nemean lion, wow. I can't believe it, Grover said. Well, you have seen with your own eyes, now. Naruto chuckles. I wish my mother could also give me such a weapon. Look, I will explain everything on the way, okay, said Naruto. Now we have to walk, said Percy. Unfortunately, hours have passed as they continued to walk to destination, Los Angeles. Currently, they are walking besides the highway road. They continued to walk as a car was stopped on there. The car was a Toyota Fortuner. Inside it was a fat woman, who was driving the car, in a Chihuahua. Hello kids. Can I ask you what you young ones are doing here? Asked the fat lady. Esme and Grover were tensed again, and Naruto understood who she was. Esme thought in irritation, Echidna, it must be because of that idiot Thunderhead. Ma'am, we are lost on our way to LA, said Naruto with fake hurted face. Oh my. What a coincidence. I am also going there. Why not you all come with me? I drop you there, she said with a creepy smile which gave him shivers as it reminded him of Petamaru. The fat lady was confused when she saw Esme. She thought that she had seen that girl from somewhere. Naruto looked at his companions and gave them a look which they understood. Percy and Annabeth gulped. Thanks, ma'am, Naruto replied. Everyone went inside the car. Then the woman started to drive. They spent 2 days in the car with two, weren't attacked once, but they didn't still kept their guard up. They slept from time to 4 were sleeping, one was always awake for guarding if they decided to attack. They had packed a lot of food so they didn't have any shortage for the food supplies. Currently they were in a patrol. The fat lady was in her car waiting in a long line for her. We're in a restaurant near that pump. So, Annabeth asked Percy what had happened in your dream. What do you mean? You just mumbled something in the sleep. Percy was reluctant to say anything. It was the second time he had dreamed about the evil voice from the pit, but it bothered him so much he finally told her. That doesn't sound like Hades, said Annabeth, and Esme mentally nodded. Because, it isn being is mine and Percy's grandfather, said Naruto, shocking all 4 of them. Naruto, are you fucking serious? Asked Esme seriously. The Titan King Kronos. Grover gulped. Yeah, I sure of it. Then, shouldn't we tell this to Olympians, said Annabeth. Naruto snorted. Even if I explained to them, do you think their king would believe me? Esme had to agree with that. We will see about it later. First, we have 2 monsters to get rid of, Naruto said, and they nodded. We will kill her and take her car. Then use it go to LA. Does anyone know how to ride a car? Percy asked. I do, Esme said with a smile. Sweet, sugarhead, Naruto said as the girl blushed. The fat lady was done with the filling the patrol. Naruto went to her. Ma'am, can come you with me for a sec? She was confused but nodded. Lead the way, dear. She started to walk him along with her. They reached the back of the pump. She was confused. What are we doing here, Naruto? Asked the fat lady. Cut the act please. We know the truth about you being a monster from the which one, that we don't know. As she was surrounded by Esme, Annabeth, Percy and Grover. Echidna, not to their surprise, started to laugh like a terrible cliché villain. Ha 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 ha. So, you knew I was a monster. You should have rejected my help instead of accepting it, fools. She was smirking evilly at them. The two young demigods and satyr were scared while Esme and Naruto just deadpanned. The fat lady's chihuahua jumped down and started yapping at them.
Not now, Sonny, the lady said. The chihuahua bared his teeth at them, foam dripping from his black lips.
Well, son, the fat lady sighed. If you insist. Did you just call that chihuahua your son? Percy asked, getting a nod from the fat woman. Chimera, dear. The fat lady corrected. Not a chihuahua. It's an easy mistake to make. See Chimera, and she called him her son, Grover said. It means she is. Echidna, Annabeth said. The fat woman rolled up her denim sleeves, revealing that the skin of her arms was scaly and green. When she smiled, they saw that her teeth were fangs. The pupils of her eyes were sideways slits, like a reptile's. The chihuahua barked louder, and with each bark, it grew. First to the size of a Doberman, then to a lion. The bark became a roar. It was now so tall its back rubbed against the roof. It had the head of a lion with a blood-caked mane, the body and hooves of a giant goat, and a serpent for a tail, a 10-foot-long diamondback growing right out of its shaggy behind. The rhinestone dog collar still hung around its neck, and the plate-sized dog tag was now easy to read. Chimera, rabid, fire-breathing, poisonous. IF found, please call Tartarus, ext. 954. The snake lady made a hissing noise that might have been laughter. Be honored, Percy Jackson and Naruto Uzumaki. Lord Zeus rarely allows me to test a hero with one of my brood. For I am the mother of monsters, the terrible Echidna. Percy stared at her. All he could think to say was, isn't that kind of an anteater? Making Naruto and others face fault. She howled, her reptilian face turning green with rage. I hate it when people say that. I hate Australia. Naming that ridiculous animal after me. For that, Percy Jackson, my son shall destroy you. The Chimera charged, its lion teeth gnashing at Percy, but Naruto appeared front him. Futon. Shinkagyoku, wind release. Vacuum sphere. He took a deep breath and then exhaled several small blasts of wind chakra toward Chimera and Echidna. That sent them away. Annabeth, Grover and Percy, you all deal with Chimera while Esme and I will deal the Echidna. Naruto said and nodded. They went towards Chimera while Echidna was rushing towards Naruto and Esme. You. She pointed toward Naruto. I am going to kill you slowly, painfully. We will see. She was hit by a lot of cans, grabbages and metals by Esme, who was using her telekinesis ability. Naruto rushed towards her, jumped and punched in the face. She was thrown and got hit on the wall, making crater. Naruto grabbed her tail and threw her towards Esme, who kicked her in the face. Maki Echidna spit some blood. Damn you. Naruto bring out his chakra chains which pierced her entire body. First the chains were wrapped around her neck and lower body, and started to pierced her hands, making her scream in agony. Chains then pierced her abdomen, which came out from her back. She had massive cuts and several holes on her body and a look of fear. No, no, no. It can't be. Naruto made a mini Rasen shuriken above his finger, much to Esme's surprise, and thrown towards Echidna, which turned her into pieces, and those said pieces then turned into dust. Wow, that mini Rasen thingy was surprising and cute. Esme giggled. Thanks. Naruto were looking at each other into the eyes and started to get closer slowly. Their faces were dangerously close to one another, but before they continue. Guys, Percy interrupted. Naruto and Esme separated and groaned for the interruption. Well, the Chimera is dead, said Annabeth. Great, Percy defeated the Chimera all by himself, said Grover to their surprise. Really? Esme was surprised while Naruto was proud for him. Good for you, Percy. And we defeated Echidna together, Esme said with a smile. Yup. I wish I was there to see you kick her ass. Now, listen everyone, we will pack and leave within an hour, okay? Said Naruto to them, who nodded. The next afternoon, 10 days before the solstice. As they were on their way to LA, they hadn't eaten since the night and were somewhere in Denver. Let's try to contact Chiron, Annabeth said. We should tell him about our progress till now. We can't use phones, Percy said. I am not talking about phones. What exactly are we doing? Percy asked. Grover took out the spray gun and Naruto gave him the required money. Here, take this, Grover. Naruto said. Excellent, Grover said. We could do it with a spray bottle, but the connection isn't as good. Percy asked. What are you talking about? He fed in the quarters and set the knob to fine mist. I mean, Instant messaging. Iris messaging, Esme corrected while driving the car. Yes. Annabeth said the rainbow goddess Iris carries messages from the Greek you know how to ask, and she's not too busy, she'll do the same for half-bloods. You summon a goddess with a spray gun. Grover pointed the nozzle in the air and water hissed out in a thick white mist. Unless you know an easier way to make a rainbow. Everyone looked at Naruto. What? Naruto asked them. Can you make a rainbow? Grover asked. You think I can do anything? Naruto deadpanned.
Sorry, yes, I can make a rainbow. Naruto said as they facepalmed at that answer while Esme just shook her head and stopped the car in quiet place where regular people couldn't see them.
They come out from the cars as Naruto used water manipulation to make small rainbow.
Annabeth raised the drachma over her head. Oh goddess, accept our offering. She threw the drachma into the rainbow. It disappeared in a golden shimmer. Half-Blood Hill, Annabeth requested.
For a moment, nothing happened. Then they saw through the mist at Strawberry Fields, and the Long Island Sound in the distance. The image seemed to be set on the porch of the big house. Standing with his back to us on the railing was a sandy-haired guy in shorts and an orange tank top. He was holding a bronze sword and seemed to be staring intently at something down in the meadow.
Luke, Percy called. He turned eyes wide. Percy could swear he was standing 3 feet in front of him through a screen of mist, except he could only see the part of him that appeared in the rainbow.
Percy. His scarred face broke into a grin. Is that, Esme, Annabeth, Grover, you guys okay? We are fine, Luke, said Naruto. We wanted to talk to Chiron. He's down at the cabins. Luke's smile faded. We're having some issues with the campers. Listen, is everything cool with you? Yes, Grover said. Does anything happen in camp? Luke nodded. Chiron had to break up a fight. Luke said to them things are pretty tense here. Word leaked out about the theft of Zeus. We're still not sure how. Now the campers are starting to take sides. It's shaping up like the Trojan War all over again. Aphrodite, Ares, Apollo and Hermes are backing Poseidon and Hades, more or less. Athena is backing Zeus. They were shocked to hear about this. Damn, Esme mumbled. Those demigods' children should nt worry about 2 childish idiotic brats fighting instead of talking like adults. This is fucking bad. Naruto said. I know, Luke said. I never thought Claris's cabin would ever be on my dad's side for anything, Percy thought. So what's your status? Luke asked. Chiron will be sorry he missed you. Before Percy could said, Naruto told him everything in half-truth. I wish I could be there, Luke said. We can't help much from here, I am afraid. Listen guys, I think the thief had to be Hades. He was there at Olympus at the winter solstice. I was chaperoning a field trip and we saw him.
I don't think Luke, Naruto said. Remember, gods can't take each other's weapons directly. I am sorry, Naruto, but that's true, Luke said, looking troubled. Hades has the Helm of Darkness. How could anybody else sneak into the throne room and steal the Master Bolt? You'd have to be invisible. Luke didn't realize what he said.
Percy, Annabeth and Grover didn't understood the true meaning of the words. He and Esme understood what he was secretly meaning to say. Well, take care of yourself out there in Denver, Luke said. Goodbye. The mist was gone, and Luke's image faded to nothing. It was great to talk with him, said Percy. Yup. Esme and Naruto looked at each other and nodded. Percy, take this money and go book a hotel for us, Naruto said as he gave the money to him. Where you two are going? Annabeth asked. To buy some food and other stuffs. Esme replied. They nodded and went to search for the hotel to book. So, Luke is the one who stole the bolt, interesting, Naruto said in thought. Yeah, but he would need the helm to be invisible to not to be detected, said Esme. Esme, what I am going to tell you. You have to keep it a secret, okay, she nodded. First, swear on the river Styx. She understood and sweared. Now, needless to say, Esme was shocked beyond hell. To think Hades' helm was stolen as well. So, Luke stole the helm first, then the Master Bolt, Esme said. But we don't know who is God in West who also has turned, said Naruto. Are you going to tell the Olympians about Luke being the thief? Esme asked, and Naruto shook his head. Not yet. I will use him to me to the real mastermind behind this entire ordeal. I see. But I am starting to understand this game, Naruto said. Is it then? She asked. Naruto just gave her devilish smile which reminded her of Hades. Soon, my dear Esme, you will find out. Soon. Percy and his group found a hotel finally after their long. Naruto and Esme came with food as they were hungry and started their dinner. They talked for a while and then call it a night. It was Percy's usual nightmare, where he was being forced to take a standardized test while wearing a straitjacket, and the teacher kept saying to him, "Come on, Percy. You're not stupid, are you? Pick up your pencil." Then suddenly straitjacket melted off him and he fell through the classroom floor. The teacher's voice changed until it was cold and evil, echoing from the depths of a great chasm. "Percy Jackson," it said. "You haven't met him, have you?" Percy noticed he was back in the dark cavern, spirits of the dead drifting around him. Unseen in the pit, the monstrous thing was speaking, but this time it wasn't addressing him. The numbing power of its voice seemed directed somewhere else. Another voice said, "Not yet, my lord. Soon, I will reveal myself to I am not sure about the son of Hades. He is from the elemental dimension. A shinobi." Percy looked over, but no one was there. The speaker was invisible. "The son of Hades from the Shinto dimension," the thing in the pit said aloud. "He is too strong and powerful. We have to do something about him." "Yes, my lord," said the voice next to him, "but you were well named the Crooked One. But was it really necessary? We could have brought you what we stole directly." "You?" the monster said in scorn. "You have already shown your limits. You would have failed me completely had I not intervened." "But, my lord, peace, little servant. Our 6 months have bought us much. Zeus is a fool and a man-whore. Poseidon has played his most desperate card. Hades is the only one who make me worry, as he is too powerful, and you shall have the reward you wish and your soon as both items are delivered into my hands. But wait. He is fucking here." "What?" The invisible servant suddenly sounded tense. "You summoned him, my lord." "No," the full force of the monsters said. "Blast Poseidon's came here on his own." "Impossible," the servant cried. "For you perhaps," the voice snarled. Then its cold power turned back on Percy. "So, you wish to." "What?" The evil voice of black fire flames Naruto appeared beside Percy. "How many times do have I tell you are not welcomed?" he said. "You, again?" "Yes," Naruto said. "Fuck off." He sent him an energy blast as it faded away. Next day it was now 9 days before the solstice. Soon the sunrise was got ready and Percy had already talked about their time came to leave and continue their quest. 12 hours had passed since they left from Denver. "Anyone knows where are we?" Percy asked. "We are 10 kilometers away from Las Vegas," Naruto said as he pointed the board which they were passing. Okay, they passed the Monte Carlo, the MGM, pyramids, a pirate ship, and the Statue of Liberty, which was a pretty small replica, but still made Percy homesick. They decided to take a break as Esme parked the car in a parking area of a went to several places and stores and bought some important things for their camping in the quest. On their exploration of the place, Naruto and Esme got separated from them because of the huge crowd. Percy, Annabeth and Grover searched them when they made their way to a dead-end street with a building at the end of it with the banner saying, "Lotus Hotel and Casino." The entrance was a huge neon flower. The petals lighting up and glittering chrome doors were open, spilling out air conditioning that smelled like flowers, lotus blossom. The doorman smiled at them. "Hey, kids. You look tired. You want to come in and sit down?" Annabeth, Grover and Percy were tired and wanted a little break, so they agreed and nodded to him. Then they went inside the casino. Inside, they took one look around, and Grover said, "Whoa." The whole lobby was a giant game room. There was an indoor waterslide snaking around the glass elevator, which went straight up at least 40 floors. There was a climbing wall on the side of one building, and an indoor bungee jumping bridge. There were virtual reality suits with working laser guns. And hundreds of video games, each one the size of a widescreen TV. There were a few other kids playing, but not that many. No waiting for any of the games. There were waitresses and snack bars all around, serving every kind of food you can imagine. "Hey," a bellhop said. At least they guessed he was a bellhop. He wore a white and yellow Hawaiian shirt with lotus designs, shorts, and flip-flops. "Welcome to the Lotus Casino. Here's your room key." Percy stammered, but, no, a bellhop said, laughing. "The bill's taken care of. No extra charges, no tips. Just go on up to the top floor, loom 4001. If you need anything, like extra bubbles for the hot tub, or skeet targets for the shooting range, or whatever, Just call the front desk. Here are your Lotus cash cards. They work in the restaurants and on all the games and rides. He handed them each a green plastic credit card. There must be some mistake. Obviously he thought we were some millionaire's kids, Percy thought. But he took the card. How much is on here? He said. A bellhop eyebrow knit together. What do you mean? I mean, when does it run out of cash? A bellhop laughed. Oh, you're making a joke. Hey, that's cool. Enjoy your stay. They took the elevator upstairs and checked out the room. It was a suite with 4 separate bedrooms and a bar stocked with candy, sodas, and chips. A hotline to room service. Fluffy towels and waterbeds with feather pillows. A big screen television with satellite and high-speed internet. The balcony had its own hot tub, and sure enough, there was a skeet shooting machine and a shotgun, so you could launch clay pigeons right out over the Las Vegas skyline and plug them with your gun. The view over the strip and the desert was amazing, but with a room like this, they probably wouldn't have any time to check it out. Oh, goodness, Annabeth said. This place is sweet, Grover said. Absolutely sweet. Percy saw there were clothes in the closet, and they fit him. He frowned, thinking that this was a little. All went to their own rooms and took a shower. When he came out of the bedroom and he found that Annabeth and Grover had also showered and changed clothes. Grover was eating potato chips to his heart's content, while Annabeth cranked up the National Geographic channel. All those stations, Percy said to her, and you turn on National Geographic. Are you insane? It's interesting, Annabeth said. I feel good, Grover said. I love this place. I wish Naruto and Esme were here with us, Annabeth said. Naruto and Esme separate themselves intentionally so they could spend some time together. Just the two of them. They went to different shops and places. Naruto bought a special necklace for her. It was a golden heart-shaped pendant with love embedded on it. Esme loved the sweet gift which Naruto gave her. Currently they were sitting on a bench beside a happy and lovely moment was stopped by a man in a car with high volume of music. Naruto and Annabeth saw the owner of the car was a young guy who looked to be in his early 20s. Excuse me, Naruto said, could you turn it down a little? Your kind music is a bit loud. Get lost. Driver said arrogantly. You don't have any manners, Naruto said. Get lost, you kid, and take your girlfriend with you, driver said. I will ask again, turn the music down. The driver just growled a little. No, he said. Very well. Then Naruto said. Boom, he punched the car bonnet with such force, the car flipped over them and crashed upside down. Next time it wouldn't be your car, it would be you, Naruto said in a dark tone. The driver looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Then he screamed like a girl and ran away from there. Idiot, Naruto smirked. Esme started to laugh loudly. Ha, that was rich, she said. Yeah, let's have enough enjoyed. We have to find our other group, eat as I hungry and tired, then leave for LA. Yeah, I wonder where are they? Asked Esme. They continued to walk. After half an hour they saw a huge building which named Lotus Hotel and Casino. Esme was sweating and nervously gulped as she knew what kind of casino it. Failed to see her expression. Naruto saw the doorman and went to him. Hello, sir. Have see 3 kids who were 15 years old. Yes, you mean a black-haired boy with a blonde girl and a brown-haired boy, said the doorman. Yes, they went inside. Naruto nodded. Naruto wa. Let's go, Esme. Naruto said as he went inside the building. Oh. Fuck, as she followed him inside the building. The first things he noticed upon entering this place was time. Naruto and Esme saw the inside of the hotel and started to search them. In this place, time is moving slower than normal, he said. We have to hurry. That is what I wanted to tell you, Naruto, Esme said to him, who had surprised look. So, you know about this place? Yes, I had came to this many works different. That's why we have to hurry up, she said as Naruto nodded. They sensed Annabeth, Grover and Percy's life signature. Found them, Naruto thought. He disappeared from there and reappeared in the room. He found Grover playing a reverse hunting game where he had to shoot rednecks. Annabeth was playing a simulation game where she could build her own city. And Percy. Naruto thought, now, where is Percy? He is. Naruto, listen to me, son, Hades said telepathically to him. Dad, Naruto. Esme called out him, but he ignored her. Yes, Naruto. I want to talk to you something. Look at the table on your left side and you will understand. Naruto looked at the table and Esme saw the direction of his gaze and turned herself towards it. they saw a young boy with olive-colored skin was dominating the table. The boy had shaggy and messy black hair and intense black eyes with a gleam of genius or madness, which was kind of hard to discern. He was also wearing all black clothes, and on the chair he was sitting on was an aviator's jacket. A girl walked up beside the kid. They noticed that she had black eyes and dark brown hair. She seemed to be lean and about average height. She had olive skin like the boy at the table, a sprinkle of freckles across her nose, and wore a floppy green hat that hides most of her face, but you could still see it. My siblings. Naruto had a surprised look. D'Angelo's, Esme said. What? Naruto asked. They are D'Angelo siblings. During the time of World War II, Hades had two was killed Zeus as he told Hades to bring their children to the camp, but Hades refused. Zeus, being a whiny little brat, thrown thunderbolt on the place where they thought the mother died with children. Explained Esme. I see. Naruto nodded in understanding and sadness for his siblings. Clearly they must have bring them to this place for them to be safe, Naruto said, and Esme nodded. He walked near them and saw the boy was playing mythological interesting. Hisada is pretty good. Thanks, the girl replied. But it is a pain to watch him all the time though. By the way, my name Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto said. I am Bianca D'Angelo by the way, and the kid at the table is my brother, Nico. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a note. It is a gift for you too, for the future, he said, and put it on Bianca's hand. Bianca said sorry, but she saw Naruto wasn't there. Weird boy. She turned her attention back to the note and read it. What is this? Nico asked when saw a note in his sister's hand. Family above all. I like this gift, Nico said. Bianca nodded his head. Who was he? She thought. Naruto returned to Esme as she was smiling at him. Wow, that was good. Esme giggled. Thanks. Let's have to find Percy and the others and then leave. ASAP. Percy was trying to get Annabeth away from her game. Come on, he said to her. We've got to get out of here. Percy got no response, so shook her. Annabeth. Annabeth looked up, annoyed. What? We need to leave. Leave? What are you talking about? I've just got the towers. This place is a trap. Annabeth didn't respond until Percy shook her again. What? Listen. Our quest. Oh, come on, Percy. Just a few more minutes. Suddenly Naruto appeared behind them. He put his hands on their shoulders.
Sorry, we have no time, he said, and body flickered them.
Now, where is Grover? He thought. There. He disappeared again. Naruto found him still playing a virtual deer hunter. Grover said, die, human, die, silly polluting nasty person. Grover, Naruto said. Grover. Grover turned the plastic gun on him and started clicking, as if he were just another image from the screen. Naruto took his arm and both of them disappeared from there. Naruto appeared outside the Lotus Casino with unconscious Annabeth, Percy and Grover on the ground as Esme was waiting for him. The first Percy woke up. My head, he said. Last time I was with Annabeth. Then Percy noticed it was afternoon, about the same time of day they had gone into the casino, but something was wrong. The weather had completely changed. It was stormy, with heat lightning flashing out in the desert. Oh. My head. Annabeth said. Quadruple A. Grover of them woke up. Annabeth saw Percy and asked, what happened here? Lotus Casino is a trap, Esme said. Now, gets up, because we're leaving. Why so urgent? Grover asked. Naruto threw the newspaper toward them. Percy caught it. They read the date, June 20th. They had been in the Lotus Casino for 7 days. They had only 2 days left until the summer solstice. 2 days to complete their quest. Grover said, oh fuck. Yes. Naruto said. They run towards the place where their car was started to load their stuffs. Before they could continue, rumble shook the whole area. A motorcycle the size of a baby elephant. They stopped. What they were motorcycle's headlight glared red. Its gas tank had flames painted on it, and a shotgun holster riveted to either side, complete with shotguns. The seat was leather, but leather that looked like, well, Caucasian human skin. Esme paled as she saw who that person surprising was. That Naruto and Percy had seen that guy somewhere. Annabeth and Grover also knew who he was. The guy on the bike would have made pro wrestlers run for mama. He was dressed in a red muscle shirt and black jeans and a black leather duster, with a hunting knife strapped to his thigh. He wore red wraparound shades, and he had the cruel, brutal, good-looking but wicked face with an oily black crew cut and cheeks that were scarred from many, many fights.
Well, what we have here, said Ares, god of war of the Greek pantheon.
As Naruto and his group was about leave to complete their quest, they were interrupted by Ares, god of war of the Greek pantheon. Everyone was tensed as they saw Ares coming towards them after parking his bike. Ares, when looked at Esme, was confused, wondering why was she with. He decided to ignore it for now. Lord Ares, Annabeth and Percy were surprised to know about the Mon's identity. God of War. Huh, Naruto thought this guy is a god. Percy thought. Ah. Athena's daughter. Ares chuckles, she spoke a lot about you in Olympus. Annabeth was surprised to hear that. Naruto looked at his companions who were tensed. Guys, Zhu, because he is a god of war doesn't he is a bad guy. Ares chuckles darkly. Demi-protégenoe. Naruto Uzumaki, you had made quite an impression to the gods of Olympus. Thanks bro. Naruto thumbs up at him, making his teammates thought, is he crazy? Ares' gaze went towards Grover and glared at Percy A. Sater and Percy Jackson. Son of Poseidon, you had made the mockery of my children and my cabin, he said with annoyance. Well, they asked for it. For being stupid and dumb. Percy replied, which made Ares snarled at him. Punk, be grateful that I am not like the many gods who gets easily offended. Esme just rolled her eyes.
Oh thank you, Percy muttered sarcastically, which Ares heard and was annoyed.
His gaze went towards Esme, who looked at him with blank look. Now you are a new face. Well, Lord Ares. I am Esme Venusa. I am those demigods who lives in the human world on their own, Esme said while Ares smirked and chuckles. Oh. I see. So what a god is doing here? Percy asked the war god. Well, I was here in Vegas and saw you were here, so I decided to give you a visit. Bullshit, bullshit. Naruto and Esme thought there is something wrong here. Then he suddenly remembered. You shall go west and face the god who has as the deity the oracle course, his familiar to the person I had seen in Percy's dream. Naruto thought. Naruto was starting to understand. Wanted to weapon the Greek to defeat them. He made Luke stole Naruto's father helm first, then he stole Zeus Masterbolt and made the blame to must have known about the existence of Percy. Kronos probably would have wanted Percy to be dead, making Poseidon enraged. As Zeus and Poseidon would fought and kill each, only one would be there to defeat. He was very clever and was here for a reason, meaning he is being controlled by Kronos. I have to give the credit, Gramps Obits, Naruto thought. Naruto saw Ares gave his teammates a quest to recover his items somewhere in Vegas. He interrupted his teammates. Sorry Ares, but we had already taken a quest and had to find the bolt before winter solstice. I know all about your quest, punk. When that item was first stolen, Father sent his best out looking for it. Apollo, Athena, Artemis, and me. If any of us couldn't find that weapon, he licked his lips, as if the very thought of the Master Bolt made him hungry. Well, you all got no hope. We don't know unless we give a fucking try, Percy said. The Master Bolt is neither easy to stole or to find, fools. Ares barked and Naruto had a mischievous smirk. Oh, really? How can you say that? Punk, the bolt belongs to Zeus. To steal from him one must be undetected. If I were the thief, I would have stolen Hades' helm first, said Ares while Naruto's smirk got widened. How do you know such? I never mentioned about my father's helm, Naruto said, shocking Ares. And also, my father's helm is also stolen. What? Hades' helm is also stolen, Annabeth said while being stunned. Damn, Ares gritted his teeth as his master's entire plan was fucked up by the son of Hades. I now understand. Didn't order the theft, someone else sent a hero to steal the two items. Then, when Zeus sent you to hunt him down, you caught the thief. But you didn't turn him over to Zeus. Something convinced you to let him go. You kept the items until another hero could come along and complete the thing. In the pit is ordering you around, Naruto said, shocking his three teammates with his deduction. I am the god of war. I don't take orders from anyone. Besides, none of this happened in my dream. Ares shouted and he realized his slip, making four of them wide-eyed. Esme noticed his strange behavior as if he was being controlled. The prophecy was right, Percy muttered. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. But it wasn't Hades. Hades didn't want war among the big three. Someone else pulled off the theft. Someone stole Zeus' Master Bolt, and Hades' helm, and framed me and Naruto because we are the children of two of the big three. Poseidon will get blamed. By days from now, there will be a war. You have been exposed, Ares. Esme said, you should be the last person to say that, Aphrodite. He growled. Percy, Annabeth and Grover were shocked while Naruto still remained calm and silent. Aphrodite Grover shuddered, the Greek goddess of love, lust, beauty and sex. Annabeth muttered. We have been with a goddess the entire time on our quest. Percy said in shock while Ares was laughing and Aphrodite's eyes were shadowed by her hair. Damn. I had spent some beautiful moments of life with a goddess. Awesome. Naruto said with a grin. They were silenced by Naruto's words. You don't hate me for lying, Naruto. You might have some reasons. I will not judge without understanding from both of the sides. Naruto said. And why should I, anyway? Truth to be told, I had some suspicious about you from the beginning. I loved the time we spent together, Dite-chan. She blushed at his nickname for her. We don't hate you for anything, Lady Aphrodite, said Annabeth with Percy and Grover nodded. Please, you all just call me Aphrodite, said the goddess with smile. Fuck. Everything this going wrong. Ares muttered in annoyance. So, what now? Everything you planned has failed, Naruto said. Yes. Unfortunately for all of you. You all had to die. Aphrodite will form later till that everything would have done according to my plan, said Ares as he took out his sword. I will go first. Percy said, surprising them. Percy, Grover yelled. Are you out of your fucking mind? Annabeth said, wide-eyed to him. Let him go. Naruto said, surprising them, and gave a nod. Percy, just trust him. Thanks, Naruto. Well, brat, be honored that you had challenged a god, said Ares as he snapped his fingers and a wild boar formed, even larger and uglier than the one whose head hung above the door of cabin 7 at Camp Beast, glaring at Percy with beady eyes as it lowered its razor-sharp tusks and waited for the command to kill. Percy stepped. Fight me yourself, Ares. Ares laughed. You've only got one talent, kid, running away. Scared? In your adolescent dreams. But his sunglasses were starting to melt from the heat of his eyes. No direct involvement. Sorry, kid. You're not at my level. Annabeth said. Percy. The giant boar charged at him. As the boar rushed towards Percy, he uncapped his pen and sidestepped. Riptide appeared in his hands. He slashed up. The boar's severed right tusk fell at his feet, while the disoriented animal charged towards him. Percy shouted, wave. Immediately, a wave surged up from nowhere and engulfed the boar, wrapping around it like a blanket. The beast squealed once in terror. Then it was gone as the boar turned into the golden dusts. Percy turned back to Ares. Are you going to fight me now? He asked. Or are you going to hide behind another pet? Ares' face was purple with rage. Watch it, kid. I could turn you into a cockroach, Percy said. Or a tapeworm. Yeah, I am sure. That'd save you from getting your godly hide whips, wouldn't it? Esme and Naruto were laughing at that. Percy was good at pissing people off. Flames danced along the top of his glasses. Brat, you were really asking to be smashed into a grease spot. If I lose, turn me into anything you want. Take the bolt. If I win, the helm and the bolt are mine and you go away. Percy, Annabeth asked again and worried. Are you really sure about this? He's a god. He's a fucking coward. Percy said. She swallowed. Wear this, at least. For luck. She took off her necklace, with her 5 years' worth of camp beads and the ring from her father, and tied it around his neck. Reconciliation, she said. Athena and Poseidon together. Percy said with a small blush. Thanks. And take this, Grover said. He handed him a flattened tin can that had probably been saving in his pocket for 1,000 miles. The satyrs stand behind you. Grover, I don't know what to say. Percy stuffed the tin can in his back pocket. You can do it, Percy. Naruto said, and Aphrodite nodded with a smile. You all did say goodbye. Ares came to Percy, his black leather duster trailing behind him, his sword glinting like fire in the sunrise. I've been fighting for eons, kid. My strength is beyond you could imagine and I cannot die. What have you got? A smaller ego, Percy thought. He kept his feet in the surf, backing into the water up to his ankles. He remembered what Annabeth had said to him once. Sometimes even strength has to bow to wisdom. Somehow Percy was able to hold against Ares, but the look of the Ares face, it was clear that he was just playing with him. Percy ran for his sword, scooped it up, and launched a swipe at Ares' face, only to find his blade deflected again. Admit it, kid, Ares said. You got no hope. I am just toying with you. Suddenly, Percy felt weird, like his senses were working overtime. He was wide awake, noticing every little detail. He could see where Ares was tensing. He could tell which way he would strike. At the same time, he was aware of Annabeth, Grover, Naruto and Esme 30 feet to his left. Ares roared with laughter. Now, little hero. Let's you add to the barbecue, he slashed. Percy deflected his blade and got close enough to strike, tried to fake him out with a feint, but his blow was knocked aside. Ares was up to his thighs, waiting in after him. What to do, Percy thought as his gaze went towards a big water tank on a small building behind him. Ares came toward him, grinning confidently. Percy lowered his blade. Just little bit longer. Ares raised his sword. Now. The entire water from the tank fell on Ares, crushing him with took this chance and forcefully get him up and punched him in the face. Ares landed on a wall, leaving a crater behind and groaning in pain. You. Ares roared angrily. The expression on his face was beyond hatred. It was pain, shock, complete disbelief that had been wounded. Playtime is over, Percy Jackson, he said as he held out his hand, palm up. In the air just inches from his hand, a fireball began to form. At first, it appeared as just a spark, but it quickly grew until it was 3 times bigger than him. This is your end. He threw the ball at them.
Annabeth and Grover saw a fireball was heading toward Percy and them.
We are going to die. Grover shouted in panic. Shut up, goat boy. Annabeth said. She was also afraid. Percy was frozen in his spot. He did try to move, but he was unable to move, because of fear.
Percy was already feeling the heat, which was coming out from the fireball. He waited for the pain, waited, and waited, but he felt nothing.
Suddenly, all of them heard a familiar voice. You did well, Percy. He opened his eyes and saw Naruto was holding a fireball with his left hand. And Naruto, Percy said. Naruto turned his head towards Ares. Now, your fight is with me. His eyes weren't violet anymore. It was silver slitted with golden markings covering his eyes, had an aura that radiates nature and solar energy, and on his hand was Yamato. When Naruto fought against the Nemean lion, Aphrodite felt only nature energy, and now she felt 2 energies from him. Ares just smirked at him and asked, what is this? I know it's similar to senjutsu, but I could feel solar energy like how Apollo radiates. It's a technique I have been working ever since I had learned about my heritage. I absorbs both nature and solar energy. My senses, strength, stamina, hacks and everything becomes 50 times more than my base form. Making everyone who was listening in surprise and shock. This confirmed Aphrodite of what she thought. I call it Solar 6 Paths Sage Mode. Oh, I see. Shall we? With pleasure. Ares sent multiple fireballs toward him. Naruto didn't move from his spot. He raised his hands and a wall of rock rose from the ground, shielding him from the attack. Sun Dragon. A huge eastern dragon made out of light formed and gazed at Ares. It opened its maw and tried to swallow him. Ares just knocked it away from him. This is useless, he said. He ran toward Naruto and raised his fist and tried to punch him, but Naruto caught his punch. He punched Ares with such force that he sent them flying dozens of meters away. Whoa, said Grover in shock while Annabeth was open-mouthed. Did you see that? Percy said in awe. Esme was smirking. Looks like was about to get a beating of a lifetime. Ares stood up and spit out some blood. Quickly, Ares moved out from his spot to avoid Naruto's punches. In a few minutes they started exchanging blows and then they broke apart. Ares looked at Naruto. You are good, he shouted as he summoned multiple fireballs and threw them toward him. Naruto deflected all small fireballs by his bear. He saw a large fireball was coming toward him. His sword was sparking in black and slashed it forward and cut fireball half. Ares was narrowly dodged blast of lighting. He saw Naruto coming toward him with his stopped Naruto's sword with his own huge, 2-handed sword. Suddenly, Ares felt a punch to his face from his right and was thrown to building, making a was punched by a clone that Naruto formed secretly during their fight. Multiple shadow clones 100 Narutos formed and launched at Ares who had gotten up. Ares punched them, making them disappear in puff. As Ares was fighting the clones, one clone saw an opening and appeared from behind and punched him, making him disbalanced. A clone to his surprise came towards and yelled. Solar flare radiated large amount of light directly on his eyes, making him unable to see. Aphrodite, Annabeth, Percy and Grover had to cover their eyes as well. From the original, chains came out and launched towards Ares, which completely grabbed him, making him unable to move. He felt large amount of energy coming from Naruto. Damn these fucking chains. Ares roared, it's time to end this. Judgment cut. He slides back and slashes so quickly that he appears back to his spot at an instant. A cone-shaped distortion protrudes outward from Naruto, and within that distortion forms a dark black orb that causes a more intense visual distortion that is then covered in slashes. Ah! Ares yelled in pain and then got knocked out unconscious.
Naruto unsheathed Yamato, and in a flash his sword disappears.
Naruto felt the energy leaving his body, as he was on the ground on one knee and heard his friends yelled his name. Naruto, they yelled and ran towards him. Percy and Grover got him up. It's okay. I am fine, said Naruto while heavily breathing. Just what was similar to what you used when you defeated the Nemean lion? Annabeth asked. Naruto cough, I will explain to you later. Dude, you defeated a god, Percy said. Percy, though Naruto defeated him but Ares didn't use his full power, Aphrodite said. What? Yes, it's true. If he had used his full divine power, then I wouldn't have defeated him. Gods have two forms. One is what we see, the other is their divine form. If a being not on their level sees them, they become disintegrated. Whoa. Percy was depressed from that information. Don't worry, you still did great. Naruto said, I am not strong enough to fight a god in their divine form and defeat them, yet. Naruto said. Naruto went towards the unconscious Ares and took out the helm and master bolt from his jacket. The two demigods and satyr gasped when they saw that. Suddenly, a flash of light appeared and they saw two beings. One was a woman with raven hair, elegant flowing gray robes, great curves and a DD cup, wore Greek battle armor, and an imperial gold helmet on her head, which is decorated with pictures of griffins, and was Athena, Greek goddess of war, wisdom, battle strategies and arts and craft.
The other one was blonde-haired man with blue, wore an armor of gold and white with a bow and arrows on his, was Apollo, Greek god of the sun, light, archery, music, poems and medicines.
Damn, Athena is hot, thought Naruto when he saw the raven-haired goddess. Mom! Annabeth exclaimed as the goddess stood before them. Apollo, said Aphrodite waving towards him. Sup, dove? Apollo said with a grin. Annabeth, Grover, Perseus, Naruto and Aphrodite, said Athena while frowning at the last one. I will speak with you in moment, Aphrodite, Athena said sternly to her as she waved at her, making Athena's eyebrows twitched. When she looked at Percy, he gulped. You did well, Percy, though you are new to this life. Well done. Thanks, Lady Athena, replied the son of Poseidon. Yeah, we watched how you smashed the children of Ares, Sun God said as Percy nodded. Wait, you watched our capture the flag? Percy asked. Every Olympian god watched, kid, replied Apollo, much to their surprise, and Aphrodite nodded to them. Then Athena turned towards her daughter Annabeth. I had watched your capture of the did well daughter, both your quest and the capture. Thanks, Mom. Annabeth replied with a smile. Athena's gaze went towards the satyr. You also did well, Grover Underwood. Thanks, Goddess Athena. Finally, both divinities saw Naruto, who waved at her. Yo Naruto, Apollo, everyone had a sweat drop. Ha ha ha, Apollo, while Athena shook her hair and groaned. Not another one, she thought.
Naruto Uzumaki, a shinobi, a demi-protagono, Apollo said with grin. You had a made quite impression on the Olympians, as he bring out his hand to shake.
Really, thanks, Naruto said while shaking his hands with him. He was definitely going to get along with Apollo. Yes, I saw your strategy and I had to say, I am impressed, she said while Naruto gave her a hand kiss, making her blush a little. Apollo when saw this smirked, while Annabeth was horrified and Aphrodite was coughed to get their attention. She composed herself and then her gaze went towards her. Oh. Yes. Aphrodite, it was very foolish to join the quest of the demigods. First, I didn't break any law, Athena. I didn't use much of my powers to make the quest easy and had only used when necessary. Aphrodite smirked. Athena sighed while Apollo laughed. Anyway, what are you two doing here? Aphrodite asked. Athena will take Percy, Naruto and Aphrodite to, I will take Annabeth, Grover to camp with Ares, then heal him, said Apollo. It was great meeting you, Mom, as Annabeth and Athena hugged. We will meet at the camp. Naruto said to Grover, "Just wait for us, buddy," Percy said, as the three boys hugged. As they were about to leave, they were interrupted by Aphrodite. "Wait, everyone. What is it, Dite?" questioned Naruto to her. Suddenly there was a flash of light as Aphrodite's appearance has a face of unearthly beauty and has her blonde hair decorated with figure as extremely voluptuous, with very large breasts and wide hips. She wore now a traditional Greek clothing that just barely covers her nipples, behind, and privates. Males looking at her blushed while females were envious of her beauty and was one of the most desired and beautiful women in the Athena admitted that. She is definitely the goddess of beauty, Percy thought. I wish I could have a bit of her figure and beauty. Annabeth thought while Grover had dreamy look. Ha, beautiful. Just beautiful. Naruto muttered, but unfortunately for him everyone heard that, making the love goddess smirked. She went towards Naruto and kissed him with passion. Naruto gladly kissed her back with equal, went on for a minute and nobody dared to interrupt them. Whoa. What was that I am complaining? Naruto asked, leaned her head to his. Thank you for not hating me even though I lied to you. Dite. She silenced him by putting a finger on his lips. Shish. Besides, there is reward for you later, she seductively whispered into Naruto's ear, making him shivered and gulping. The two demigods and satyr blushed at them while Apollo was whistling and had a knowing smile. Cough, cough, Athena coughed to get their attention. Yes, we should go now. Let's go to Olympus, Naruto said. Percy clung onto his seat in nervousness as the sky rumbled around the group as Athena drove through the gray clouds. Naruto was next to him with Aphrodite leaning her head on his shoulder. Percy looking around the vehicle with a mixture of awe and fear. Awe because he was inside Athena's chariot, fear because he was a son of Poseidon. Being LG with her was risky. She won't outright kill him, not until she had reason to, he hoped. Naruto would be saved by Aphrodite and Athena won't be stupid by harming him, as she would have several divinities for her head. Naruto and Percy stood in front of the doors to the entrance to the chamber of the Council of the Gods, as Athena and Aphrodite had left them to wait there for few minutes till they were the time they reached Olympus. Apollo had dropped Annabeth and Grover at camp and healed his foolish brother who was recovering in his temple. So this is Mount Olympus. Too much white and gold. Like someone is trying to hide all the loving that has happened over the years. Naruto thought to himself. Then again, if I was the king of the gods, I would want to try to hide as much of my love-making as I could. Percy was at awe when he arrived at Olympus and saw the beautiful scenery from there. Believe or not, Percy, Naruto said, but this is Olympus. From the top of the clouds rose the decapitated peak of a mountain, its summit covered with snow. Clinging to the mountainside were dozens of multi-level palaces, a city of mansions, all with white columned porticos, gilded terraces, and bronze braziers glowing with 1,000 fires. Roads wound crazily up to the peak, where the largest palace gleamed against the snow. Precariously perched gardens bloomed with olive trees and raised bushes. An open-air market filled with colorful tents, a stone amphitheater built on one side of the mountain, a hippodrome and a colosseum on the other. It was an ancient Greek city, except it wasn't in ruins. It was new, and clean, and colorful, the way Athens must be looked 2,500 years ago. Fucking unbelievable. Percy though himself. The tip of a mountain hanging over New York City likes a billion-ton asteroid. How could something like that be anchored above the Empire State Building, in plain sight of millions of people, and not get noticed? They are divine beings, Naruto said to him. So, logic is illogical for them. Percy thought in shock. How did he? You're easy to read, Naruto deadpanned. Let's get this over with and return the bolt back to Zeus, Naruto said calmly. Reaching the doors to the throne room, the three teens took a deep breath and after nodding to each other, pushed the large white doors open where the Olympians resided for their return. Just as they opened the doors, the throne room suddenly became very quiet, as 12 Olympians, Ares still unconscious and in his temple, looked towards the door to see who opened them. Percy, who never saw any of the Olympians before, looked around and remembered from Chiron's lecture about the U-shaped council, with Zeus in the middle. Zeus, sitting in the middle as a handsome god, dressed in a striped tuxedo with a red tie with dark gray, silver hair reaching the back of his shoulders and his beard prevented his neck from being shown. The tuxedo is a snug fit that complemented his bulky form, giving off a regal sensation. Hera, who is on his left, is a stunning goddess with beautiful black hair that reached the small of her back, striking black eyes, and a beautiful pale complexion. She is dressed in a white toga that strained against her large bust, bust, and hugged her large hips. Over her is a beautiful cape made out of peacock feathers, representing her symbol.
Demeter, who sat left of Hera, is another gorgeous goddess with breathtaking golden hair that reached down to her hips and striking hazel eyes. She is currently wearing a bright green dress that showed the top portion of her large breasts DD bust, followed with a dark cape.
Athena, following the pattern, sat to the left of Demeter. She has a beautiful shade of raven hair that flows just below her shoulders and has storm gray eyes that were full of energy. She is currently wearing a long white dress that hugged her curves, D bust. Artemis, sitting to the left of Athena, has shoulder-length red hair and striking silver eyes that enhanced her divine features. Currently, she is wearing a long red and silver dress, like Athena accentuated her curves, E bust, that made her look breathtaking. Aphrodite, who sat at the end of the left half of the council, possesses a face of unearthly beauty and has her blonde hair decorated with flowers. Her figure is extremely voluptuous, with very large breasts, EE bust, and wide hips. She wears traditional Greek clothing that just barely covers her nipples, behind, and privates in a golden pendant with a beautiful sapphire resting in between her mounds. Poseidon, sitting at Zeus' right, is a handsome god with black hair, a neatly trimmed beard, deep tan, and powerful sea-green eyes. Currently he sported a Tommy Bahama shirt with coconuts and parrots displayed on the shirt, khaki Bermuda shorts, and leather sandals. Ares, who sat to the right of Poseidon, was absent due to the fight with Naruto and Percy an hour ago. Dionysus, who sat to the right of Ares, is a chubby-faced god with a red nose and black curly hair. He is currently wearing a leopard print shirt with shorts and running shoes, making it seem like he came from a trailer park or was homeless. Hephaestus, following the trend, is a huge god with shoulders at different heights, misshapen head, bushy eyebrows, a wild brown beard, and his leg in a steel brace. However, he is also very muscular from always working in the forges. Apollo, following the trend, is an extremely handsome god, with bright blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a bronzed complexion. His figure is enhanced with him wearing a Greek robe lined with gold. Hermes, sitting at the end of the right half of the council, has an athletic, slim figure with curly black hair, blue eyes, and elfish features. He is currently wearing a white toga and winged shoes. Also, to Naruto's surprise, was his father standing next to his, takes the form of a tall and handsome man with a specially designed eye patch on his right eye and long, stylish silver hair that spikes up at various spots on his head. He's shown with a leaf-like pattern tattooed across his forehead, a spiked choker necklace lined, and a bead-like earring on his left ear with many smaller piercings. His attire is shown to be quite formal and extravagant, with a collar that spans all the way to his upper chest, and badges decorated on the left and right side of his coat. Finally, he wears long white jeans and a pair of shoes filled with square patterns. Naruto nodded at his father, who smiled at him, while Percy was nervous when he saw the appearance king of the underworld. Whoa, now that's a god and he is Naruto's father, Percy thought while gulping. The gods weren't moving or speaking. They were eyeing on them, and especially Naruto. First, Percy approached the fisherman's throne and knelt at his feet. Father. He dared not look up. His heart was racing. He could feel the energy emanating from the two gods. If he said the wrong thing, Percy had no doubt they could blast him into dust. To his left, Zeus spoke. Should you not address the master of this house first, boy? Then he turned toward Naruto, who was calmly standing there. And why aren't you bowing? Naruto yawned. Because I don't want to. Getting some chuckles at blatantly disrespecting Zeus while Hades has amusement in his face. Zeus' eyebrow twitched and muttered, disrespectful brat. Zeus. Hades warned. Peace, brother. Poseidon finally said. His voice stirred Percy's oldest memories, that warm glow he remembered as a baby, the sensation of this god's hand on his forehead. The king of Olympus sighed as knew he couldn't do anything against Hades. Fine. Naruto faced towards his father and bring out his helm of darkness to point towards him. I think this belongs to you, Dad. The Olympians didn't dare to interrupt them as they watched the interaction between the father and son. Hades just snapped his fingers and the helm disappeared. Thanks, dear son. I knew you would recovered it, as Naruto just nodded. Hades smiled at his son. Naruto, feel free to come the underworld whenever you desire. I can assume you know about the pathway of the Greek underworld. Naruto nodded at his father. Thanks, Dad. I will soon be there. Okay, let's continue, Zeus said impatiently. Yes, Hades said calmly. Let's hear what they have to say.
Perseus, Poseidon said, look at me. Percy did as told and was not sure if his father was happy to see him or not since there was no true emotion on the mon's face.
Address Lord Zeus, son. Poseidon told me. Tell him your story. So Percy told Zeus everything, just as it had happened, with Naruto putting in his 2 cents every now and then. Percy was grateful that his albino friend was able to fill in the missing parts. He took out the metal cylinder, which began sparking in the sky god's presence, and laid it at his feet. There was a long silence, broken only by the crackle of the hearth fire. Zeus opened his palm. The lightning bolt flew into it. As he closed his fist, the metallic points flared with electricity, until he was holding what looked more like the classic thunderbolt, a 20-foot javelin of arcing, hissing energy that made the hairs on my scalp rise. I sense the boy tells the truth, Zeus muttered. But that Ares would do such a thing, it is most unlike him.
He is proud and impulsive, Poseidon said. It runs in the family.
Lord? Percy asked. They both said, yes. Ares didn't act alone. Someone else, something else, came up with the idea, Percy stated.
Yeah, it was like someone was controlling him, Naruto stated, and the room got quiet again.
In the dreams, Naruto said the voice told us to bring the bolt to him. Ares hinted that had been having dreams, too. I think he was being used, just as we were, to start a fucking war. And who do you think was controlling Ares? Questioned a curious Hades. The elder 6 Greek gods know him too well, Naruto said as he watched them to have confused faces while Hades might had guess. I am talking about Gramps Obits, Naruto said, making the room again in silence. Hades, Poseidon and Zeus looked at each other. They had a quick, intense discussion in ancient Greek, but the only word that they caught of that was father. Then Poseidon decided to lighten the mood by laughing and turning to Naruto. Nice nickname for that man, nephew. Zeus stood up. I must go personally to purify this thunderbolt in the waters of Lemnos, to remove the human taint from its metal. He looked at the boys. His expression softened. You have done me a service, you two. Few heroes could have accomplished as much. We had help, sir, Percy said. Grover Underwood and Annabeth Chase. I see. Zeus said, I thank you all for risking your lives to find my bolt and return it to me. So as a sign of gratitude, I allow you Percy Jackson and Naruto Uzumaki to travel in the air with planes. Thank you, sir. Percy said as Naruto just waved towards him as doesn't need his permission to travel in the air as he is the direct descendant of Uranus. Hades started to walk to the exit of the throne room and paused. He looked at his fellow gods, especially Zeus, through the corner of his eye. Don't even think about harming my son, because if anyone did for no reason, I will make him or her fade completely forever.
After saying that, he transported back to the underworld. Everyone except Naruto and Aphrodite gulped in fear. They knew the words of the king of the underworld weren't just empty words. When he say something, he always mean it. There is a reason why he is the most powerful Greek god and one of the most powerful beings in the existence. That was fucking scary, Apollo said while shivering. Agreed. Artemis rubbed her elbows with her hands while gulping. All of them were in sweat. Zeus was in a complete sweat as he calm himself shook the palace. With a blinding flash of lightning, Zeus was gone. After a few moments, everyone were calm and the tense moment was gone. Your uncle, Poseidon sighed, has always had a flair for dramatic exits. I think he would have done well as the god of theater. Yeah, you know Aunt Hera, I don't know how you put up with the guy. Naruto said as he turned to a nearby doorway to see the said goddess. I couldn't agree most with you, nephew, but we are working on it. Hera said in a sweet tone. I envy you and the other demigod children. You all have the power to connect with the mortal world in ways that I cannot. Now I could have a demigod child, but I won't. It is not in my nature to be unfaithful to my husband. I see, Naruto said, then smiled. You still have my respect for that. And, if you need my help, you could always ask. Besides, we're family errant, It would be pleasure. Now, I think someone wants to talk to you in private. Hera said as Aphrodite winked at Naruto. Okay. Naruto raised an eyebrow, then he turned back to Percy and put a hand on the boy's shoulder. I'll be back. Besides, I have a feeling that your dad wants to speak with you, alone. Whistle. Apollo whistled as he watched Naruto leaving with his soon-to-be lover. Looks like someone is going to have fun. Artemis shot a deathly glare towards her twin, who shrank under his sister's gaze. Soon everyone left, leaving only Percy and his father Poseidon alone in the room. An uncomfortable silence. Dad, Percy said nervously. Naruto was following his way through and found himself in Aphrodite's temple. The room was a bed which was circular shaped, and was surrounded by lit candles. Around the back of the bed, where there was no lighting, was a pit. There was a big balcony directly behind the bed. Naruto felt two hands wrapping around him from behind by the Greek goddess of love who was in her birth suit. Dite. Naruto whispered as he turned towards his friend, or lover. He was so confused. She whispered seductively in his ears, making him shiver. I promised a reward, didn't I? His hands reached her curvy waist as he directly looked in her eyes. None of the two spoke as they just stared each other into the eyes. Neither was sure who moved first, but they were suddenly kissing fiercely. Naruto ran a hand through her hair as Aphrodite wrapped her arms around his neck and wrapped her legs around his waist, and he carried her over to the bed.
Lemon time. Naruto sat himself down on the bed, kicking off his shoes and socks. As Aphrodite unbuttoned his shirt, he moved from her lips down to her neck to kiss there. Naruto. Aphrodite sweetly moaned his name in pleasure.
Naruto raised his head as they stared at each other in the eyes. Dite, did you really meant what you said during the quest in the forest?
Yes, she replied as Naruto saw and felt her desire and adoration for him. He honestly was overwhelmed and happy by her feelings. Naruto kissed her passionately and groped her breasts, eliciting sweet moans from the love goddess. He worked his magic on her for several minutes before removing himself from her. He stood there removing his pants, then his boxers, revealing his erect penis. Aphrodite blushed and licked her lips when she saw her lover's body and his manhood. Naruto positioned himself on top of her and kissed her again on the lips, only to slowly go down to her neck, causing her to moan. Then it went down to her breasts, which swayed due to the agitated breathing of the started kissing and sucking on them. Ah. Ah. Why yes. Ah. She began to moan as her lover did his work. He was sucking the erect nipple of her right breast while his right hand played with her left breast. Ah. Ah. Suck it more. Don't stop. He began to lower his mouth, kissing her belly, but his hands stayed up playing with Aphrodite's breasts. Damn, this is great. She screamed when she felt Naruto gave several kisses and licks to her cunt.
Naruto enjoyed his goddess vaginal juices as well as the softness of her was playing with her breasts and vagina for 10 minutes when
I gonna come. I gonna come. Aahhhh. She shouted with his eyes wide open as she cummed on her beloved lover's face. Which Naruto without any problem drank all her fluids, enjoying the taste of it. Aphrodite found herself staring up at the ceiling with her eyes open, overwhelmed by her powerful orgasm. She came back to reality when she felt how the albino climbed on top of her, settling down to claim her as his. Aphrodite, are you ready? Naruto asked, looking at her with affection and desire. She nodded with excitement as her eyes were clouded with lust and love. The albino began to slowly introduce the member, making the blonde-haired woman gasp. Naruto smiled down at Aphrodite as he completely sheathed himself inside of her, before he kissed her, as she grabbed onto his shoulders, paralyzed by the pleasure of his cock being buried in her cunt. It's so fucking big. She whispered with a gasp. You're so tight, Dite. Naruto said, groaning in pleasure as he began to pick the pace. Ah. 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 Daughter of Uranos moaned every time she felt how the albino penetrated son of Hades started to move faster. Ah. 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 Her moans were increasing with the increase of the pace of her lover. Naruto loved her moans. They were addicting and concentrated on his thrusts while passionately kissing his goddess again, who returned the kiss with equal passion. She moaned, feeling how that big dick of his penetrated her without any her legs around the Maelstrom's waist, making the penetration more pleasurable. If it weren't for the kiss, she would have screamed when she felt how that dick shamelessly hit her cervix. Naruto stopped kissing her to return to attack her breasts, which were crashing against, began to suck her nipple while with one hand he pinched the other. Ah. Chaos. Fucking unbelievable. Ah. Ah. A perverted smile began to form on her face. The albino got more excited hearing her words and started to become more aggressive with it. Ah. Shit. I am gonna come again, she shouted, already losing herself in lust and desire. Naruto could feel his own orgasm building up as he thrusted his dick roughly and faster inside Aphrodite's cunt. Dite. I am also gonna fucking cum. He growled, starting to move like a beast, causing his penis to repeatedly hit the goddess' cervix until it went through it, being the trigger for her orgasm. Come inside me, Naruto. Aphrodite cried as she kissed her man, who returned with equal intensity. The inner walls tightened around the albino's penis as they cummed together while staining the sheets. Aphrodite could feel the hot cum of her lover flowing inside her pussy. This is so great, she thought while gasping. They stayed in this position for a few more minutes. Without warning Aphrodite, Naruto flipped her onto all fours with her heavenly big ass in the air, giving him a great view that many men desired to see.
Aphrodite began to shake her butt from side to side, attracting the attention of the prince of the underworld.
What are you waiting for? Come and fuck me. Use my body as you desire. Make this horny slut shout your name. Aphrodite yelled with a threatening smile full of lust. The albino's penis became more erect upon hearing her dirty talk, and he thrusted her with roughness and increased pace, making her squeal with pleasure. Ah! I can't get enough of this. Harder. Please. More. She moaned like a bitch in heat. The albino kept pounding her with great force, watching how the goddess' butt shook. Slap. 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 Kya. Love that you fuck me hard, don't. Stop. Ah. She moaned, enjoying the hard sex with her beloved. Naruto, for his part, continued to whip her ass hard, making it turn red. The Greek goddess of love was staring off into the distance with a stupid smile, with her tongue sticking out and her eyes cloudy with pleasure. In her mind, the only thing she thought was to enjoy this more without stopping until she didn't feel her legs. Naruto pulled his lover's hands to deepen his thrusts. Her face was turning step by step into an aigao. Ah. Delicious. Delicious. Ah. I love it. She moaned, feeling that she was approaching her orgasm again. Naruto, for his part, still had resistance, thus managing to resist his orgasm for one more night. Focusing on his women, he pulled harder on her arms, pounding her harder, provoking Aphrodite to lose her mind from the large amount of ecstasy and pleasure. Holy fuck. Harder. There. Give me there. Aphrodite screamed when she felt how Naruto hit her in a tender spot inside her pussy. Obeying what his women desired, he thrusted in her with more force, driving her crazy. Ah. Destroy me. Fuck me until L can't walk. She screamed with pleasure, feeling another orgasm building inside of her. Are you mine, Dite? Are you mine? Naruto asked to his lover. Yes. 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 All yours. Aphrodite screamed when she felt how the maelstrom gave a big push again that penetrated the cervix, giving entrance to her uterus. That's right, from now on you're mine and only mine, Aphrodite, he growled. Ah. By chaos. I am coming. Aphrodite screamed, feeling the biggest orgasm of the night. Naruto clenched his teeth as he released a large load of semen that he had been holding back to release inside his lover. Said lover had the most perverted gaze possible, enjoying her orgasm and her beloved semen entering her vagina. He let go of the hands of the blonde-haired goddess, who fell on her face and a large amount of semen coming out of her pussy. I love you, was the last thing she said before passing out, which Naruto heard. Smiling with affection and love, he turned Aphrodite and pulled her towards him without needing to take his member out of her. He kissed her on the forehead and then slept with his new lover. A month had passed since the theft of the bolt. Naruto had began his relationship with his lover Aphrodite, which was going on relationship as great as they accept the past, each other's past, support their present and look forward into their future. For the goddess of love, he is without any doubt the best lover she had in her entire immortal love, and desire she feels for Naruto was far greater than anyone, even Adonis couldn't come close to it. During his time in this dimension, he had also met some divinities alike Apollo, Hermes, Hephaestus etc. Also, his stepmother Persephone accepted him and didn't hate him at all, as she treated him like family member. His aunts were also great. His favorite one was Hestia. She always cooked awesome ramen for him, which was even better than Ichiraku ramen.
His friends congratulated him and were happy for him. Apollo thumbs up to him and said he was so proud of him that he is going to have a harem. Hestia had a tick mark on her head and punished her nephew.
His father Hades wasn't surprised by his son's relationship, though he warned Naruto about the obsession of Ares with the goddess of love. How much he lusted and wanted her, but she always rejected him because Ares only care about her beauty and body, he only wants to ravage her and use her for his pleasure. Though, Aphrodite loves sex, but it doesn't mean she had slept with every man she had met. She is also a woman, thus appreciates to be treated like one and to be loved not only for her beauty but also for herself. Now, she had found a diamond who she will never let go off from her. Currently, Naruto could be seen in a training field. He was sitting under a tree waiting for his father, who had told him that today he would start his training. Although his bored face did not show it, he was actually excited to start his training. Hestia and Persephone had made him study about the different pantheons, rules, customs and more things that seemed interesting to him, but there was something that caught his attention, and they were the gods of other mythologies he had read about. Some specific gods and beings from different races whom one day he is going to challenge. He had also been interested in some primordials or celestial beings that in the future he would like to face, but first he had to be in the league that rivaled the one of the most powerful beings in the universe. Before trying to face anyone, he was eager to start his training so he will be able to travel through different pantheons and face powerful beings. His father also explained to him about the Uzumaki clan and their legendary art of fuinjutsu and kenjutsu. Well, Naruto, today I will explain to you what your training will consist of. Naruto only nodded for his father to continue with his explanation. I have planned to train you in the arts of the magic, combat, nature abilities, wizardry and strategies. While archery, hunting, medical arts, manipulation of light, fire and sun abilities etc. are going to be taught by Apollo. I will also ask Hephaestus to make some weapons for you which will be helpful for you in the future. We will train your divine power to be more specific about the amount of it, how to use it properly, and in 4 to 5 years your body and mind will be mature enough to more brutal and harsher training. Naruto was satisfied by the explanation about his training and routine from his father. 4 to 5 years. Naruto said as he was confused, and Hades nodded. Yes, it will take time for you to reach a level to even rival minor god. But don't worry. Here in the underworld is a chamber where the time works different. 10 months in the human world is 100 years in that place. So, you would have a lot of time to master everything. Naruto's jaw dropped when he heard what his father said.
Seriously? Naruto asked in amazement to his father, who nodded.
Sweet. Naruto smirked. That's the spirit. Hades said as he smiled at his son's excitement. You could see a 22-year-old guy with messy silver hair. He has silver-slitted eyes and wears necklace made up of gold teeth. He had no cloth on his upper body and has dark black marks ran through with a strange design on the lower part. He was wearing a kind of golden armor and on his waist, and had several golden armor plates with a short black cape on his waist. He had gloves of black and gold. He was Naruto Uzumaki, who was going to his own palace after fighting a titan who managed to escape from his prison in Tartarus. He had been 200 years in the time chamber where he mastered all the weapons, different combat styles and all the arts he could. His physical appearance is of 22-year-old man, but mentally and spiritually he is 220 years old. His mastery in archery and hunting was not to be underestimated at all, especially his archery that could make the hunters of Artemis green in envy and leave Artemis in shock. He had mastered different types of weapons like swords, spears, tridents, bow and arrows, daggers, staffs, axes and shields. All of his training became easier thanks to the shadow clones. Naruto realized how his so-called godfather literally wasted 3 years of his life during his training trip back in his dimension. He would have turned into a fine shinobi if Jiraiya hadn't wasted his time in mastering Kurama's chakra, then actually focusing on his growth. Naruto had to say that he had survived till now.
Knowing only Rasengan, shadow clones, funinjutsu techniques and senjutsu.
Now, thanks to the brutal training schedule of his father, Naruto had evolved his strength, speed, stamina, hacks and durability to a godlike level. He had completely embraced his Uzumaki heritage, which he inherited from his mother by mastering the arts that his clan were famous and feared for, fuinjutsu and kenjutsu. He also developed X-rank clairvoyance Sha Nakba Imaru, with that he can see and predict possible futures, and the Golden Rule, which is a skill that gives him unlimited amount of money, gold or treasures. Being 90% divine and 10% mortal gave him a lot of advantage, as he had more denser and stronger divinity than a strong god, and thanks to it, Naruto was able to activate his own immortality without the blessings of the divinities. Hades asked him if he was interested in being a god, but declined, saying he has no interest in being a god. He is immortal, that was enough for him. He is stronger than the minor gods and the strong gods and has enough power to rival the super gods but not close enough to rival the supreme gods or celestials, yet. Also being the direct descendant of 3 primordials gave him a high sexual prowess as well. Naruto had several abilities which he had inherited from his divine side like necromancy, pherokinesis, umbrakinesis, dark infernal pyrokinesis from Hades, phobokinesis, photokinesis, calokinesis, thermokinesis, chlorokinesis, heliokinesis from ether, atmokinesis, electrokinesis, aerokinesis, hyatokinesis from Uranus and plasmakinesis from Izanagi. Naruto had completely abused the use of shadow clones as he made several thousands clones and send them to different parts of the world to get more experience and collect different artifacts, relics, treasures and weapons. He collected almost all of the legendary weapons of heroes from the past which are known as Noble Phantasm. He needed a place here he could keep his beloved precious treasures which he had collected. So he created a vault, storehouse in a separate dimension where he stored all of his own Noble Phantasm which he built and named Gates of Babylon. Gate of Babylon. The king's treasure, Obu Babaron, O no Zaihageto Obu Babaron, is the golden capital and the king's treasury of, and moreover the golden key connected to it. It is the storehouse that Naruto built to store all the world's treasures he claimed, referred to as the Divine Gate. It connects the space of reality to the vault, opening an invisible door between dimensions that allows for the contents to pass through upon their owner's command. Allowing for easy access to the items of the treasury, he is able to pick and utilize them as he pleases. The rank of the Noble Phantasm changes from A due to it reflecting the ranks of the contents of the treasury. It is a Noble Phantasm that becomes more powerful with the user's wealth, but would accordingly not be useful without a wealth of valuables. It is also once referred to as an EX-ranked Noble Phantasm by due to items passing through the gate form gold glowing energy ripples in the empty air as they appear instantly. He can summon items directly into his hand, pull out weapons from directly behind him, or prepare numerous weapons mid-air, loaded like bullets. His favorite weapon is the Sword of Rupture, Ea, Guai Jian Ea, Kairi Ken, Ea. It is the most powerful Noble Phantasm contained in the Gate of Babylon and the pinnacle of all those used by servants. Unlike all of his other nameless weapons that were able to be passed on to other wielders throughout history, it is a sword only Naruto possesses. A unique existence that can only be possessed by him, that is suited only for a ruler's use and makes him transcendent. It has a grip, handguard, and is the same length as a longsword. The section that should contain a blade deviates from the normal form of an edged weapon. The blade itself and the tip of the sword, spun in a spiral shape, are dull. It has the shape of a cylindrical, drill-shaped pillar made up of 3 independently rotating segments engraved with crimson cuneiform lettering that spin slowly in an alternating direction like querns, the middle segment spinning clockwise and the top and bottom segments spinning counterclockwise.
While Ea is categorized as a sword, its way of being is closer to a wand. Its 3 sections respectively represent the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. It exemplifies the world's way of being by having each one of them rotate in opposite directions. The cosmos is thus represented by matching all 3 of these representations. Everything together represents the universe. It is something that does not appear in any legends, crystallized during the age of gods at the beginning of the world. It is the primordial sword that is the actualization of the works of the presence recorded before humanity came into being, and it is that which divided the formless into distinct heaven, underworld and earth. It is a divine construct created by the Almighty God, unable to be replicated by unlimited blade works, and its status as a unique existence means it cannot be reproduced in any way. Naruto considers it his greatest and most trusted treasure next to Enkidu, Yamato and Excalibur, one of the few esteemed treasures, which he only used against those he deems worthy of facing it.
Naruto, like his father, is a man who loves and cares his family. He admires his father and have high respect for him. He misses his mother a lot and soon he is planning to meet her. His father told him that Kushina was in the Shinto underworld, so in order to meet his mother he has to visit the Shinto pantheon and take permission from their leader, Amaterasu no Okami. He deeply loves Aphrodite and would do anything to make her happy. He and Apollo are best friends and care each other like brothers. Hermes and Hephaestus have become his close friends. After his training, he had met Brunhilde accidentally when he was in Germany. Odin is also one of his teachers during his time in Germany, who taught him some important things about magic, and much to Naruto's shock that one of the oldest gods in the universe is a big pervert. Naruto met him when he saw the old man giving education about women and how to seduce them to little children in a park. He calls him Aro Gigi or old timer just to annoy him, and also, he has yet to visit to other pantheons. Naruto had met Buddha during his travels. He considers him as his elder brother figure. He deeply admire and respect him. His love for sweets comes from Buddha. Thanks for watching.